Garftanda has claimed 1 or 2 victims.
Once the rains came, it certainly caught a few out. Jack LeBrock on the top of the mountain got caught out with some aquaplaning, and then the AMG Mercedes just went to war with each other. Another one where one of the faster car turns around the leader of the Invitational class. That was Darren Curry at the time. That brought out a full course yellow. Then more AMG on AMG contact down at the chase, where Mikkel Grenier just came across the front of Kelvin van der Linde, and hostilities returned. Number 20 IRC car had a bit of a moment, and again the Vortex got caught up right in front of what is now our race leader, Thomas Randall, who this team have done a beautiful job from a strategy point of view. They dived in under this full course yellow, got one of their stops done, and now enjoy a near on 30-second lead.
And you might think, hang on a second, we've neutralised it. Why isn't everybody packing up? That's the point of full course yellow. It's effectively a code 80 km/h. That's how fast you can go. There's no overtaking, and it freezes the field. It neutralises the field. The times will look a little bit odd in terms of the gaps, but once we get back to green, the idea is that we go back to where we were before we had to neutralise the race to get that piece of Audi bodywork off the mountain straight. So keep an eye open for your favourites, and the Basel class leaderboard sees Thomas Randall for Scott Taylor Motorsport leading the pro and overall. Marchini in the Hallmark NBC there. We've just gone back green. Grant Denyer for Wall Racing in the 15th position overall and leading silver. GT4 and Chris Tatulu for Prestige in there, AMG. And the invitation class, which it seems to be a bit of a poison chalice at the moment when you're leading. It's Cedric Spirazzoli in the IRC GT number 20, sitting in 21st position.
I unfortunately don't have in my record book a statistic for the longest surname to lead a class in Bathurst 12-hour history.
Right.
We've got 2 of them now, I think, though.
Okay.
That invitational class.
Oh,
wow.
Mate,
I
don't want to be leading that thing to the last lap.
Absolutely. So this now is a big challenge for Thomas Randall, because he has been handed a decent race lead in car 222. A full course yellow pit stop, the whole field doing 80 k's an hour. They timed it to perfection. Potentially more good fortune than good management, but you've got to take when you can get that here. And he was able to peel into pit lane, complete an 85-second pit stop, and return to the race lead. And the margin at the moment showing 11 seconds. We'll let them get around to the start-finish line for timing to fully synchronise once everyone's back up to racing speed. But so it's 222 leading 9-1-2. Ian Guven behind the wheel of that Porsche, and Maxi Goetz third. Kraft Bamboo have seemed to have spent a good chunk of the last 3 or 4 hours of this race just hovering around the top 3, just creeping up on it. And that Audi of Kelvin van der Linde, I'm not ruling those guys out. They are looking in a really decent position. And another car that's just been floating around the top 5 for the last couple of hours. Jack?
Yeah, really interesting. I've just been down into the 222 garage to catch up with the engineers running that car, and a couple of old supercars guys in Mirko De Rosa and Brendan Hogan, and they're claiming that they're not actually sort of as lucky as we may feel. They've been leaving hot, wet tyres on every stop because they've been noticing it takes 4 or 5 laps to get the pace up, and at the start of each stint they've been gaining multiple seconds. We're talking 10, 20 seconds on the field, so they're in a comfortable position. They don't think it's a fluke. They think they're going really well.
Certainly not a fluke. You don't float to the top of this field in a fluke with 2.5 hours left to go in a 12-hour race, and there are some very big brains in that garage and some very fast race car drivers driving this car, and they've driven it beautifully. They rolled the dice earlier with Cam Waters when he was driving when the big downpour came. They hoped that it wasn't going to be that downpour. And Cam, we reported at the time, that cost them 49 seconds. And they went back to 10th or 12th. And they've played themselves back in nicely here. But you don't get that for free. Yes, you leave wet tyres on and you keep them nice and hot. You can do that for 2 or 3 stints, but eventually you will wear them out and they will lose performance. And Ian Guven is coming back now at Thomas Randall.
And the problem with that is if you look at how much spray is being thrown up now, for example, down Conrod, and also actually just to my left, down the start-finish straight. that is standing water again, and we're seeing far more spray. The rooster tails are going higher, and it's a bigger cloud of spray behind all of the cars right across the top of the mountain. Some opportunities for fantastic photographs, particularly with the car silhouetted on the skyline drop with that big cloud of spray. Chan is pushing on here. He's got his confidence levels up. Remember we said he wasn't gaining on those cars when he first went out there, Krilsey, but whatever he's found in that car, or whether he was bringing the wet tyres in maybe carefully, it's raining really heavily on Conrad, and now he's found some performance.
Well, and I'll just check notes, 108 litres of fuel they're allowed to put in that car. They've burnt half of it, so the weight's coming off the car as well. So performance increasing. They need to go. They're still in a slightly uncomfortable position because they are out of sequence. And they're the first of that leading group of cars to stop as we try and work out how many pit stops there are between, well, they stopped on lap 196 and between wherever the end of the race is. So their next stop, if they go all the way on fuel, should be somewhere around lap 228 to 230. The next group of cars, which includes 75, Sun Energy 1, 46, the BMW will be about 236, 237. STM can go all the way beyond 240 laps now in this race, which takes them a long way towards the final 90 minutes. And that starts opening windows for getting to the end on one pit stop, potentially.
Yep, the 222 car, whilst it's got track position and at the lead of the field, it is going to suffer some pain in this stint because they're full right now, full of fuel, and the team have admitted to us they're on a wet tyre that is not the newest wet tyre on the racetrack. And the last lap was a pretty graphic example of that. Thomas Randall did a 24.9, Ian Chinguven a 22.9, Maxi Goetz a 23.9, Kelvin van der Linde a 23.2. So of the top 5, the leader was the slowest.
I'm just getting my accordion out again here.
Exactly.
And it's
starting to close again.
It's that slinky that Craig Lowndes had earlier on. It's all just tightening back up again, that spring. There was that little bit of contact as well, let's not forget, between the STM AMG and the Vortex. They put the Vortex in the wall. Not heard that of anything resulting from that yet. I would say that Motorsport Australia Race Control have far more angles than we have on that. They will have looked at it, or they may still be looking at it. They take all of the incidents in chronological order. And in fact, I'm now being told it was reviewed. There was no contact. They had a view that there was nothing on the Snicko, and there was clear daylight between the back of the Vortex and the front of the STM. So was looked at and reviewed. So those of you watching those highlights, those Repco highlights a little while ago, seeing that it was reviewed and there was no contact, so no further action required.
And it's a race car that people have to lap, especially if we get more restarts like we've seen, where those slower cars have been so challenging to get by, and it compresses everyone when they get them at the top of the mountain. Silver class, all racing.
Bathurst's fastest game show host.
Correct.
Grant Denyer at the wheel of this car, and hasn't this car done a mega job through the day? Earlier, felt like it was 45 minutes ago or so, David Wall was beside the top 10, battling it out with Raffaello Marciello and Marcus Winkelhock. And this car continues to lead the silver class.
It seems odd, the car that is so bright, but they've kind of flown under the radar and just gone quietly about their business and just made sure that they've stayed out of trouble and turned their laps. And that's not the worst strategy, is it?
David Wall stints in that rain.
Oh, that was
hours
impressive.
ago were really, really huge in the context of the race. Grant Denyer watching on, he sees himself on the big screen that's up at the chase there, but he's driven very nicely this weekend. And this is a guy that started out a race car driver first, and then decided that he needed to find a way to pay for race car driving, so went to become a TV presenter.
Found a job doing TV.
Yeah, exactly right.
That bit turned out all right for him.
Absolutely, it has. And of course, calls Bathurst home now. Tony D'Alberto's been in this car, and we really need to applaud people like Adrian Dietz, who has invested in a brand new Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. They're going to run a couple of rounds of GT World Challenge Australia this year. Lamborghini dead serious about supporting Adrian as well. They sent out their chief GT3 engineer and data engineer out from Italy to support that squad this weekend to help get them up to speed. A couple of test days This is the first major test for that brand new car. First one in the Southern Hemisphere as well.
Really?
So it's beaten all of GT Asia as well. So really cool. Well done, Adrian, for that investment and bringing something unbelievably cool to GT racing in Australia.
Pretty handy data gathering exercise for Lamborghini.
I think
Should they need that in the future?
might rock up to the factory team at some point down the road, potentially.
Well, just, you never know, might happen.
Time to stroke my chin thoughtfully. Hey, how about how many people from other manufacturers have been wandering around, some under the radar, some not so much this weekend? I had a blast around the mountain in a Mustang Dark Horse, and plenty of people with a blue oval here all making noises about next year as well. We think it's good now. It's not going to get any worse next year, and I'm hearing as well from the event organisers there's big news to come relatively shortly once we get this Superfest finished about the future of this event. Really looking forward to hear what it is. I did say, you've made yourself a problem, you know, guys, because how are you going to top this next year? And there was a knowing look at me. And I thought, okay, I'm staying away from that. I'll go about my business.
Shane Rudsis, the event director, and Paul Martin, Supercars head of motorsport operations, went to the total 24 hours of Spa in June last year, and the vibe in the paddock there is that everyone wants to be here. It might still take a year or two to get them all back, but they're all keen to be at Mount Panorama. So as I said earlier, we almost had Garage 59 and their McLaren 720 GT3s, which are awesome things. So we hope to get them back. Hub Auto, unfortunately, with the shipping dramas, cost them a start this year. But yeah, the world is interested. And you had your ride in your Mustang. I had one in a Corvette, so that's GT3 next year.
Yes, exactly.
So it's pretty cool.
Bowtie versus Blue Oval. Oh my goodness. Added to the European exotica that is already here. American muscle versus European style. We've heard that somewhere else before. We are in a truly golden age of endurance and sports car racing, right from the World Championship through to GT3 class racing.
Well, the fact as well that you can now run most of these cars in the 24 hours of Le Mans is incredible. That is such a carrot at the end of the stick, and Triple Eight and Johor Motor Racing went and did the Asian Le Mans series and almost got themselves an entry to the 24-hour. This is a hairy little moment. The Hallmark car just jumps out the way. Mark Sini behind the wheel. Mark's doing a great job. 13th outright. Melbourne businessman, races Carrera Cup full-time. Hallmark Property Group, his business. Michael Lochisano and other partners. They've been passionate motorsport supporters for a long time. And Mark and David Russell equal on 12 the most number of starts in the GT3 era of this race.
Yeah, Mark Sini, big supporter of this race, and much like Adrian Dietz, funds that car for the rest of the drivers. So plenty going on here. The gap first to second is starting to shrink. Can Randall hold on?
Heart of racing. Front and centre being chased down by the race leader, looking to put them a lap down. That team touched on earlier, raising money for Prostate Cancer Research of Australia. And looming in the background will be that bright green and yellow Grello Porsche of Van Kanguven. He's now 3 seconds behind Thomas Randall.
Significantly heavier rainfall in the bottom part of the circuit here. Whilst why that is critical is because the tyre, the wet tyre that's on the lead car, they have admitted to us that it is a used tyre. They've been double and triple stinting that tyre. So the more water that sits on the surface, the more worn out your tyre is, the less that it cuts through the water. So Randall, his last lap was a 27.1, and Shenguven a 24.3, so 3 seconds now. The gap first to second is under 3 seconds, it's down to 1.9. So that 912 Grello Porsche will be on the rear bumper of the 222 AMG Mercedes in a heartbeat. And you can see as we make our way to the top of the mountain, it is much murkier up here. Oh, out on the outside. That's Solomon that have dropped down to Reed Park. Two commentators, one, I've got my eyes closed, and the other two have got their hands in their head.
Oh my goodness, this could be R-rated. This is incredible stuff. right on the ragged edge, going past traffic, trying to find some gap, trying to see through the spray. And there's only one line at certain parts of the circuit, and where they are now, coming down through the Repco divot, is one of them.
Bastian Boost would love to put a move on Lucas Doles, and he's been in GT racing for some time. Bastian looking to make his mark in top flight GT3 racing.
Going to try and cut back and get on the throttle a little bit earlier as the KFC Audi number 2 in the pit lane.
So Marcus Winkelhock was behind the wheel when they peeled in from 10th position. In that car, just doing some checks to make sure everything good. And this is massive. Bastian Boost looked one way and then the other, and they're going to go side by side through the kink, and he gets it done. Big move. And the Porsche goes forward and just gets it stopped and just keeps it on the island. So it took some hard in the mouth moments to do it.
Did he get a bigger tour than he was expecting there?
Well, he committed either way, and we go back to the battle for the lead. Actually, there's 2 battles for the lead going on here, because the outright leaders are right behind the 2 leaders in the Boycel Pro-Am class. So Harry King in 911 and Alex Riberas in the 27, the Heart of Racing car. They're 1 and 2 in Pro-Am.
So they're not going to be in a hurry to hop out of the way for the outright race leaders, because they've got their own battle to bash on with. Oh, the number 2 Audi is in the garage. Big drummers here. Marcus Winkelhock's out of the car. Lots of head shaking going on there. So we'll find out what's happening with that one.
Brad Schumacher's dream of an outright Bathurst win may well be slipping away. Battle for the lead is well and truly alive at Mount Panorama, with just over 2 hours and 18 minutes to go in what's turning into a Bathurst 12-hour sprint race. Thomas Randall, a bright young rising star of our Repco Supercars Championship scene, is holding on from Ankin Guven, a bright young rising star of global GT racing. This was particularly huge. Casual 265 odd clicks through the kink, and Bastian Boost manages to get his car pulled up and stopped and passes Lucas Doles. So this is busy stuff. A couple of Mercs and a couple of Porsches all battling for their class lead, and indeed the outright lead of the race.
Unfortunately, the issue with the number 2 Audi began this morning. They discovered that 2 bolts within the right rear toe link were not secured. They tried to tighten it during a pit stop and then sent, as it was at the time, Brad Schumacher back out on the racetrack. The problem has gotten worse and worse throughout the day, and it resulted in Marcus Winkelhock driving with the steering wheel at a very odd angle to try and hold the car straight. The problem has just manifested itself to the point where now the crew has said the car is not safe. They brought it into the garage. They are going to try and fix it, but at this point, any chance of any decent day is gone for this car. All hopes rely on the sister car, the number 22.
Yeah, we saw them with one wheel off earlier on in a pit stop, and they were under there. And I actually, that's just jogged my memory, because someone came in on the socials, hashtag B12HR, and said they could see that the Audi was a little bit wonky on the steering, a little bit cockeyed, and something else happened, and I forgot to mention it. And that is all falling into place now. Good eyes once again by our collective knowledge out there across the globe.
Fairly low-risk manoeuvre for Guven, getting past teammate Harry King to put them a lap down. But more to the point, to put a car between himself and Thomas Randall, who he passed at the chase or on the entry to. GT4 McLaren just doing the right thing and jumping very, very wide. The Audi Sport cutting to let the leaders go through. So Riberas, the next person that Guven needs to pass. And this is how it played out. Run up Mountain Straight. One older spec Porsche and the newer one driving by. An older car still has been hugely effective today and very much in contention for the Boycel Pro-Am class. They're not too worried about an outright result there unless that opportunity was given to it, but there's a class victory in endurance racing and still means to stand on the top step of the podium.
This could be big, because this is the leader behind the Pro-Am leader in the Heart of Racing SPS AMG, and then right behind us, Harry King. So Alex Rivera will not want to be holding the leader up too much and chance his arm, but then again, he does not want to lose too much ground to the car behind him.
Bumped into Alex, met him for the first time early in race week.
Smashing look.
The Hub Cafe down in Keppel Street in Bathurst, and he was telling me the story of how he was out in New Zealand during COVID and actually got stuck there, couldn't get home.
Places to get stuck.
Correct, lovely part of the world, and decided just to set up Heart of Racing New Zealand office, basically, and ended up racing in the North and South Island Endurance Championships over there. But he did say that he'd sit there knowing that he was only 2 or 3 hours away from Mount Panorama and frustratingly couldn't quite get here while we were all having fun at this place. Well, so he was thrilled to be able to get that opportunity and come and race.
You were talking about SBM earlier on with the prostate cancer. You know, our teams in this part of the sport, great social responsibility. Heart of Racing, formed by a chap up in Seattle called Gabe Newell, and they race and raise awareness for the specialist cardiac, children's cardiac part of Seattle Children's Hospital. And to date, well over $12 million US dollars raised for that charity, and they are absolutely 100% committed to that and to go racing. They've had a heck of a few years, winning championships all over the place, and of course heavily involved in the development of the Aston Martin hypercar, the Valkyrie. Gabe Newell has a road car, and that car, Adam Carter from Aston Martin Performance was telling me on Wednesday that the first mule has been running. Actually, no, it was Ian, wasn't it? Ian James was telling us at Tractor Town. The car has run in a mule format on an Aston Martin Valkyrie Pro, which is their track car. So that's another big prototype coming to the World Championship next year. I said before, we're in a golden era of sports and endurance racing. More manufacturers realising what they can get out of their road cars and have these fantastic races all around the world. Brilliant time to be in this part of the sport.
Ferrari doing sports car racing more successfully than Formula One at the moment.
Well, if they stop doing their strategy by a magic 8-ball...
Do they farm their strategy out in the sports car team?
Yes, hey, of course. Turns out they're very good.
Amato Ferrari's lads are pretty good. No relation,
correct,
I should say. They know a bit of sports car racing.
We'll give you a contender check. When we get into the final 2 hours, we generally like to run through who's where and who's got a realistic shot at this. But look up and down that top 10, and there's a whole heap of cars that can still win this car race. That's the point we want to make. So 9 cars still on the lead lap of the race, and with the Heart of Racing car just being lapped by the leader, Guven. And I think they're all in pretty good shape. So Porsche leading Mercedes-AMG second and third at the moment. Van der Linde in the Audi next, and then Bastian Boost in that omnipresent Phantom Global Porsche, and Lucas Stoll's in 75. So Sun Energy One within sight of the final 2 hours of the race, and they're only 13 seconds away from the race lead. So for the third year in succession, Garth, that team have engineered themselves to be in at least a position to challenge for another Bathurst victory, which is a huge accomplishment. And then the BMW will be an interesting one for mine. Hasn't set the world on fire in the wet conditions. Raffaele Marciello running 7th, 27 seconds behind the leader, and then with a couple of drive-through penalties. If it goes green, 90 seconds from the race lead, David Reynolds in Group M Racing. That's a big margin. They might need a little bit of help to get themselves closer to the front.
And since Ayhan Guven caught and passed Tom Randall, he's now pulled out 7 seconds. And there is that you were talking about, Garth. That's not Tom going, oh, I think I'll ease off a little bit. That's him on warm tyres against Ayhan Guven on tyres that have done probably a maximum of half the work of the Pirelli wets that's on the 222.
Yeah, and look, it's still a net gain, the strategy for the 222. Oh, yeah. Remember, when Cam Waters was in the gravel trap at McPhillamy and came in and got wet, that turned into a 50-second deficit. Yep. So to be only 9 seconds off the lead, it's still a massive net gain for this team. And I mentioned earlier, they will take some pain in this part of the race. But if you take a little bit of pain now, you still have over 2 hours left to go in the race. So still, if we know Bathurst, there will be a twist in the tail. Something will happen. You bolt Cam Waters in that thing somewhere near the front of the grid, and he will have a crack. He's come up short in the 1000 so many times by so little that he won't let it happen in this car. So
yeah, he'll unpick the secret iRacing shortcut at some point to get himself to the front as Maximilian Götz peels the Caltex car off into pit lane. So 77. Where were they in their pit stop shuffle? So this is their 13th time in pit lane. So 2 hours to go. This stop plus one more, and they should be all right to go to the end. Car 911's getting a bad sportsmanship flag for disobeying blue flags. So Harry King has been very much eyes forward in the Shell car, trying to keep his position in that Pro-Am battle. So a driver change down at Craft Bamboo Racing. Great stint from Maxi Goetz. This car's been floating around the top three for a good chunk of the second half of this race, having worked their way forward.
See the team there blowing out the radiator. Had a couple of AMG Mercedes, particularly in the dry part of the race, suffering with overheating. So the team leaving nothing to chance and blowing out the radiator while the driver change takes place. Here's our race leader, continuing on his merry way. Anchan Guven, now that gap first to second, near on 10 seconds. So marching on its merry way, as it has for the majority of the race. In the lead of the race, this car had a few things thrown at it. Drive-through penalties, miscommunication, an extra drive-through.
Yeah, Matt Campbell was very honest about that when he spoke to us. And, you know, it's hard nowadays to be anything else because we've got eyes and ears everywhere. Yes, exactly. And the lead changed in traffic, in spray. It was a tremendous run down Conrod Straight, out to the outside.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That sums it up, doesn't it?
And that was much less of a lift than it ought to have been, going round the outside into the chase there, following in behind the 911. That was when they were catching up with that battle. Remember, they were catching up with Harry King, who was chasing down Riberas for the lead of the Pro-Am class.
It wasn't so much the going around the outside of Tom Randall, it was the commitment to do it before the King with lap cars in front of you, not knowing what they were going to do. This is Bastian Boos. Sort of had a look, thought about it, and then eventually Kelvin van der Linde turned down. This is the battle third for fourth. The Mante EMA Porsche has proven how good it is in wet conditions. This Phoenix Global car has shown us as well, from time to time, how good it is in the wet. Boos has got a good run off turn one for the run up Mountain Straight. And you get the job done. Under brakes into turn two, using the toe. Van der Linde sticking to the inside. He's not going to give him an option. Does Boos swing to the inside? He thinks about it. Van der Linde saw him coming, shut that door as quick as Boos had a look. So Van der Linde not going to let Bastian Boos through. They continue this battle for third, and they're second not far up the road. So that's why Van der Linde's boxing on, because he knows he can get himself up into second. Thomas Randall just ahead.
I like where this car's at. Car 22, the Audi. They've just been creeping up on it. This is the best in Audi's been late in a race for the last couple of years. They were probably outgunned last year, but Van der Linde's been so good in that whole combination. Liam Talbot did a nice job early contact. Group M down the inside of Triple Eight. It's fourth position. Brock Feeney and David Reynolds. They'll be boxing on in a week's
Race
time.
Control, attention all teams. PLP penalties to cars 130 and 77 for a breach of BOP.
I wonder if that's stint length.
Yeah, well,
I wonder if that's stint length. So it is confirmation. Car 130 and 77. So Daniel Unkadella behind the wheel of that Craft Bamboo car. We just saw them in pit lane. We'll have to do a drive-through penalty, and this guy too, David Reynolds. It's not been Grouper M's day today. This was fun though, for us. Perhaps not so much for Brock Feeney with a couple of wheels off under the bridge.
I've got a button here for these kind of things. AMG on AMG. AMG on AMG. All day.
Much like the flasher button on the steering wheel, that button would be worn out
by now. Yeah.
Every time we pick up a shot of two AMG cars near each other on the racetrack, they inevitably run into each other. This time it's a couple of supercar superstars having a crack at each other, Dave Reynolds and Brock Feeney. They'll pick up hostilities in a week's time when we come back for the first round of the Supercars Championship. As it stands right now, Feeney gets through, and that's the battle for 8th. But as we heard, Reynolds will have to come to the lane and serve a penalty for a breach of the balance of performance regulations.
So that's that 150 minutes that we were talking about early on.
I think it's laps in a stint.
Oh,
it's the 32 lap number.
Okay, got
So I wonder whether the teams have interpreted wet weather running as not usual wet weather or not usual race conditions, and thought, well, we can stretch it here because we wouldn't use as much fuel in the wet. So Chad might have more.
Yeah, it's for going too many laps between refueling. And the reason why it was hard to see on the numbers was because originally they had been in as we got a car up and they
hit the wall.
Hit the wall. That's rear suspension damage, toe link damage on the 77, so they've got bigger issues than a drive-through penalty now.
Hunkadea has done something that he seldom does. It looks like there's been a mistake there. And that car has been in the wall, rear axle or rear left.
I think it's a toe link.
Yeah. There's also some damage on the right front as well, God.
Yeah, so I wonder he got pinched on lap cars somewhere and ended up against a wall. So, yeah. Here we go. So he's by himself here, Junkadella. This is a run down to the grate. Oh yeah, it's gone. I can see it.
Oh, it's broken.
Yeah, it's broken on him. Something's happened. So whether he's made contact with the wall somewhere else, but the inside rear, the unsided rear tyre is already moving, and that's why the car got away from Danny Junkadella.
Wow,
and
what
probably the scariest part of the racetrack to lose control of the race car.
How fast
down
did that
the
go?
grate. Well, in the dry, it's 220 plus. So I think it's probably around the 180 mark.
Yeah, you see that's gone. Yeah, there it goes again as soon as he gets back on the throttle.
I think gone as he jumped down, so I think it's a toe link or rear suspension arm.
They had been side by side a couple of laps ago, and you think, all right, side by side, how does that happen? Well, the wheels and tyres aren't straight up and down, they're cambered out, which means the bottom of the wheel and tyre sticks further out from the bodywork than the top. He's done a good job to get this back.
Here we go. Oh, this is there we go. So there, contact with the outside wall.
There we go. Once again, our replay crew doing a smashing job of tracing that back.
So heavy contact with the outside wall at Solomon Park results in the 77 car. They were having to come to pit lane to serve a drive-through penalty, but that does not matter now. As Danny Junkadella slowly drags that car back to pit lane.
I went digging, Garth. I have news of a penalty nature. So we saw the drive-through penalty for this car, which is now obviously redundant, but also for the 130, which is a key contender in our race, and it was for failing to adhere to balance of performance. And one of the balance of performance regulations is the length of a stint, which started out the day at 32 laps. Now they were given grace to run 33 because of the changeable conditions. Those two cars that were penalised did 36 and 37 laps respectively. So quite a significant breach. Doesn't include safety car laps as well. So I wonder if that's where they got a bit muddled, because they did spend quite a lot of time under yellow during that period. But 36 and 37, so it's a clear breach of the balance of performance regulations. That's why they're getting a drive-through penalty, and that's why it's going to cost them big time, and that's why all the other teams will be paying very close attention to how many laps they've done.
Detective Inspector Richard Crail there, coming up with the goods.
Nice work.
Yeah.
Crail.
Good investigation. Coming down to 2 hours to go, gentlemen. Now, dog tyres looking?
Well, they're the unused communication, so you can tell. So radio issues for one of the Audis. See which one that was. See if we can work it out from the.
I want to see what he says on the other side of the board.
I think it was
well.
Marcini, the number 9. So,
and
what does it say?
Crew members saying, I don't know if he saw it. So, what does it say on the other side? We hear you.
The dog will be,
for a lucky dog.
If there's a safety car, a lucky dog, because they're within shouting distance of their Pro-Am rivals. So they've actually played a really good race. Hallmark Property Group and MPC, as the Caltex car is sadly going to be pushed back into pit lane.
Truly, this pit stop won't count as their drive-through penalty.
Unfortunately not.
So, should they fix this car and get going again,
they're going to have to
come
do a
back
penalty
in again and do a drive-through penalty.
That's more cruel.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. The result's gone now.
Hunkadea has had an awful couple of weeks. Didn't even get to drive the car. He was meant to be racing in the Asian Le Mans Series finale. Didn't get into that at all. And here, that's a very uncharacteristic mistake from Danny. That's a hell of a save, though, to be fair.
It is. It is.
Rear wheel steer, not where you want it.
No, but not the first car to meet the concrete on the outside wall at Solomon Park. It's happened many, many times in the past. Such a high commitment part of the racetrack with absolutely zero room for it to go wrong. It's the team going to work to try and fix it.
It's not a long fix because Hunkadea is staying in the car, but it's going to take them out of contention.
Doesn't matter.
Shit.
Well, and the best news that I can give you guys is when they put the car up on the air jacks, the wheel didn't sag, so the piece that is broken is a singular piece. It's not the entire conjuncture of the A-arm, but rather one piece that has gone a little bit flim-flamming. It's hanging where it shouldn't, but it shouldn't be that long of a fix, assuming that they decide to fix it altogether.
Yeah, I would have a good look at the rear of that car, though, because it was a pretty significant impact with the wall. Given that they'll lose a lap or two here, you don't want to lose a whole car as a result of hurrying to get it back out on the racetrack. So, importantly, Ancient Guven put the 130 Gripper M AMG Mercedes a lap down there. So, after their drive-through penalty for Dave Reynolds, he loses a lap. So that is an important little note to make as strategy starts to play out and this goes on.
Headlamp flash button. Firing off. It's now up towards the leaden skies above Mount Panorama. Just add water for excitement. Don't really need to do much of that normally at the Repco Bathurst 12 hours, but this has been a very different looking race for 2024. Added a lot of variables in.
Supercars season 2024. A lot has been learnt, a lot has changed, and we've got a lot to look forward to. It starts with the Bathurst Superfest. Following the Bathurst 12 hour, it's time to kick off the new season at the thrifty Bathurst 500.
Brace yourself for another great race, Australia. It is showtime.
This year, a new champion will be crowned. Take your pick. It could be anyone's.
Who gets the job done today?
Ticket information can be found at supercars.com. Supercars, unforgettable.
That's next weekend here at the Mountain. 250k races, 2 shootouts as well. Think of it as 2 completely different race meetings. And if you can't be here, you don't get your tickets through supercars.com. And you're one of the internationals, don't forget the Supercars Super Pass. Do like Shay and I do. We can follow it all around the world. And all the details are at supercars.com/Super Pass. Watch it live, watch it when you like.
Superview is a great thing. You'll have that. I can't believe you're not staying to see a supercar race at Mount Panorama. It's a bad piece of logistical planning. Yeah. I know you've got to go to the World Endurance Championship in Qatar, but
so hang on, next weekend it's Superbikes at Phillip Island. Yeah. It's Prologue at Qatar, a track I haven't been to at Lusail, and here for Supercars. And I really wanted to do all 3 of those. But Chad wouldn't loan me the jet or the helicopter.
2 of those are in Australia. We can get Chad's jet. You can do Saturday at Phillip Island. You can do Sunday here at Bathurst.
Yeah. Supercars / super few is what I was trying to get my mouth around there. It's a fabulous service. All the details are there for you. Watch it live or watch it when you decide.
Here's the top 3 in the Pro-Am class. Line astern. This is all for position. So, Alex Riberas, Harry King, Jordan Love. Line astern battling it out. Yeah. Oh, Luke Yilden. Valmont Audi just a little bit wide. Does keep it on the bitumen. It's a Craft Bamboo team. Continue to look at this car, and the rate at which they were repairing it has slowed up somewhat. Yeah. So
well, you
was significant contact with the wall. I think Alex Riberas is just staying in there because he doesn't want to face the team. So
I mean, you're looking at potential drive shaft issues straight into the gearbox. Yeah. You know those cars very well. They're pretty sturdy.
Yeah, but that was a big hit. Yeah. And for somehow, like, all concrete walls are hard, but that one seems excessively hard. Yeah. Don't know how, but any car that goes in there is serious damage.
Yeah, and this on the socials from Kitch. Thanks, Kitch. Hashtag B12HR. Anyone who thinks that Mount Panorama isn't that hard, Danny Hunkadea is an example numero uno that it actually is. Such a lot of experience for Danny, and again, small margins, big consequences.
Yeah, unfortunately it was pointed out to me that's 2 years in a row for him at this place as well, so that's going to sting.
And that's why he's still in the cockpit.
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk to anybody. Now, the reason Manthey EMA are looking reasonably active down in pit lane is because they're very close to a pit stop. Could well be this lap. 31 laps in this stint so far for Ayankan Guven. Now, they will be good, you would imagine, to go to the end from here with one potential pit stop, depending on the pace of this race. And this is the problem. If they're handing out drive-through penalties for going longer than the stint distance, you are going to have to be really confident that the last time you pit is 33 laps or less away from the checkered flag. The problem is, this isn't a lap count race. No, it's a timed race.
That's when you have lap-based strategy around a timed race.
Correct.
So that's where you have to be so careful. So another number you need to remember is you can't do more than an hour and a half driving time continuous. This pit stop's taking place with an hour and 52.5 minutes left in the race. So you need to be a little bit careful of that one. Still a few regulations you need to jump around.
So 150 minutes. So 150 minutes and 50 minutes.
So that one's fine.
Yes.
Tick.
So it's over 2.
One less. Yeah. Tick. One less box to tick.
Which will be a relief because they're the way they've spread their drivers out.
So are you leaving Chan in here? Are you putting Vanta in here? Are you... Matty's hasn't been out of that car for an hour yet, has he? So he can't quite get back in.
I think it's Vantor, and you're making your final stop probably with, well, it's going to be an hour, isn't it? 32 laps. You're making your final stop with about 50 minutes to go, and you're throwing M. Campbell at it.
It's a nice luxury to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got Lawrence Vantor and Matt Campbell available to you.
We'll find out what they've done when it triggers the timing loop at the end of pit lane, and there's a little RFID chip in the driver's helmet that will tick over and tell us who's behind the wheel. So, Guven out.
I'm actually, I tell a lie. Yeah, I tell a lie because of the slower lap times. That's been well over an hour. That stint.
Yeah, I did wonder that.
Yeah. I'm sort of thinking back to 2-minute-ish laps.
Yeah.
And would it be enough? That was nearly an hour and 20 minutes for Chan that time around.
So I think they'll be running this last one to time.
Yeah.
On the basis, as long as they know they can get to the end and it's not 33 laps, because they're giving them a lap's grace on that stint time because they're not normal conditions.
So this is Pro-Am, is it? Or is that's our leader around the Group M car. So for a minute there, the Group M car was unlapped because Ayankan Guven came to pit lane. But now the new leader, Bastian Boost, has got around Dave Reynolds in the 130 AMG Mercedes. So if it's not one Porsche leading, it's the other Porsche leading And this car has been in the front 5 for the majority of the race after qualifying deep. Well out of position for that car. They've got themselves back in the game.
And the Vortex is back out as well after its trials and tribulations. That's another team who don't know the meanings of the word give up or possibly go to pub.
You say that in French.
Aller au pub.
So we don't expect to see Bastian Boos in the lane for probably 2:36. So we're 2:29 now, if not a little bit further down. So that last stopped on lap 204 of this race.
So where the EMA Mante car is at a little disadvantage, their windows in this last hour and 50 minutes are very tight.
Correct.
So with the Bastian Boos Phantom Global car going deeper into the race, it opens the windows in the last part of the race. So strategy for Mante, they've almost got one hand tied behind their back a little bit. There's only so much that they can do within the boxes that they're constrained by.
And the
driving time, fuel economy, time to go.
The car with the biggest operating box is 222, because their last stop was on lap 210. So they've got another 4 laps up their sleeve, pushing right into that final hour of the race. And then they can dictate when they make their final stop and who they tool up to drive that final little stint to the flag.
Actually, bizarrely, for the car that has been in the lead so much, the 912, a little bit of full course yellow or safety car even, where the lap time is longer, that actually helps them out.
Yeah, well, that just changes the whole context of the race again. So many variables still to go. Just under an hour and 50 minutes left in this one. And at no stage in this race would we have thought that the 222 Scott Taylor Motorsport AMG Mercedes was actually looking the strongest of the AMG fleet.
Correct.
So he said that they'd done a great job strategy-wise. They played themselves in, they'd floated to the top. They're taking a little bit of pain by triple stinting a wet tyre. But ultimately, it's going to work for them should it play out as we think. And they'll be right in the game into the last round of stops.
I still think if it runs green, 912 is in the best position, but they'll have the least amount of stuff underneath them at the end of the race if it comes down to an all-in battle like it so often does here at Mount Panorama. So they should still get track position. They'll be the first of all the cars to pit, so they'll shuffle back to the front, but then they'll be chased down by cars that could be lighter on fuel, that could have better rubber beneath them as well. Chad?
Yeah, the biggest issue for car 912 that I've got is I've got them getting to lap 261 as their next pit stop, and that would happen to be probably about 9 laps before the finish. So it's cars like this one on screen that are somewhere in that window being able to get to that magic 270 marker, which is likely where this race is going to finish. We'll know a little bit more sort of as the laps tick by, but obviously. But I still don't see that 912 getting home without making another stop, obviously, but there are others that can make it home with just the one more stop.
So you guys remember way back when we had that flurry of safety cars and teams were stopping half a tank and topping off and running alternate strategies to each other, and we were saying, well, it's going to change the play of the race for someone somewhere later in the day, and it's played out for the 912 that one of those half stints somewhere in there has made it things much more challenging for them here.
Yeah.
And that was, what was that? 7 hours ago when all that started. So you're constantly working backwards from the end of the race. You just don't know the decisions you make then, how they affect the race later in the day.
And in terms of laps, you don't know where the end of the race still is yet, which is
a moving target.
A quirk of endurance racing. While we're unpicking race strategy and trying to decipher what's going on, Jack Perkins has been busy out and about and patrolling the top of Mount Panorama.
Back up here on the top of the mountain, and I've got to say there's a lot of fans around, but I'm keen to know who everyone is supporting. Now, who are you kids supporting?
The green Porsche. The Sun Energy Mercedes. Green Porsche. Green Porsche.
Green Porsche here. Now, what about the adults up the back? Who are you supporting, sir?
Lounsey.
Lounsey, I can tell by the shirt. What about you?
Yeah, Lounsey in the work, mate.
And what about you, sir?
Richard Crail.
Well, what do you know, Kralsey? There's supporters up here supporting you, mate. That's bloody good.
How much did that cost you, Richard Crail?
Like last year, Garth, I tell you, absolutely nothing.
So you've managed to do a commercial deal. It's cost you $0 to get exposure for your fan club. So that's nice work.
The fans.
Can I get a discount on my merch?
No, because all of the merchandise money goes to charity, Garth. The Childhood Cancer Association of South Australia.
I'm glad you clarified that. It's not the Richard Crail Foundation.
It's not.
No. Well done, Rich. We do have a bit of fun with you, but you do work your backside off for this event. And we give you a hard time. We know that it takes an army.
It took to Saturday last year. I got 10 hours into the race this year for that to happen.
We wanted to make you sweat for this one. We wanted to make you sweat for this one. There's no point doing it in the first hour. Let you sweat for a little while.
I'm going to tell you now, it was going to be worse because we were going to have the full merch set up with the cap and the flags.
Don't give away what we're doing next year.
We couldn't do it, Grills, because it's sold out.
Couldn't get any.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get organised earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's enough of this. Let's hear from Shay.
Even Shay couldn't get any, could you, Shay?
No, but I didn't try, guys, in all honesty. Last year, I spoke to Jules Gounon before the final stint of the race. Jules, now we're in a situation where, again, it's getting close to the final stint. You and Luca and Kenny have all done a great job, and you're still in a position to fight for this win. Does it feel similar to the previous years?
No, I don't think so. This is another crazy Bathurst 12-hour. These conditions are really difficult. A bit earlier, when there was a lot of water, there was a lot of aquaplaning at the top of the mountain. It was really hard to stay on track. But now it looks like the Porsche are quite not on our range yet, but we will. Kenny told us it's all in, so we will definitely go for it. We don't know who is going to finish because we are again really close on driving time. I've already done more than 4 hours something, so we can't put, it's very complex for us. So let's see. I see Luca is catching quite well the second place car, so let's see what we can do.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
And there it is. There's that bit of mental arithmetic that has to go on whilst you also making sure the car is fueled, it's got the right Pirelli tyres on. Now, pass for position, AMG on AMG. There's that button again.
I wonder if they can get this one done without contact.
What's the over and under on that, Joe?
Very small odds on that one, John. So,
this is the...
Oh, Lucas Stoltz locked the rears down into the final corner. So, not easy to drive, that car. It wasn't a very overly positive Jules Gounon. Things were going to work out in their favour this time round. But that's not going to stop Lucas Stoltz having a go to get around Thomas Randall for second place.
It's still not, I mean, it's not drying up at all, is it? There's a bit more
showers that come through, heavy downpours that blow across the track and then disappear again. So,
and it's funny, I entirely believe Jules Gounon when he says we don't know.
No, I totally
don't think they do. Often you get a bit of PR speak from race car drivers and teams at this point of the day where they keep the deck of cards fairly close to the chest, but right now this is an incredibly difficult to read motor race. And the complexities that have been added this year around stint length and that pit stop time as well have just added to the challenge of unpicking this race strategy.
And what is the maximum amount of time a single driver can do, Krelser? You had
in total for the entire race,
yeah,
340 minutes.
Right, okay. So he's already done, he said, a little over 4 hours. That's 24, so he's probably all right to get back in. What we got left? We've got 100 minutes left. So
5.6 hours, just over 5.5 hours. And I will happily admit I had to get the calculator out for that. So a driver can do 5.6 hours. That's why this rule we've been talking about with Kenny Habul in this car, Liam Talbot in the 22, works. Because your two pro drivers can do 11 hours and 10 minutes. They can do 11 hours and 20 minutes of a 12-hour race.
Yeah.
So your third driver only has to do 40 minutes if they're bronze ranked. But what it does, as Chad and I especially have talked about with the Pirelli pit bunker, is reduce your flexibility. And that's where they're at now. That's the problem, is that they don't know how much time they've got to play with before the end of the race with each driver. And that is the massive challenge. And if you go over that, you might get the checkered flag first, but you won't win the race because the stewards will clamp down on that very, very quickly.
Coming around to pit stop time at the front of the field with exactly 100 minutes to go. That it is fairly easy to work out. Started all the way back in the dark at a 5:45 this morning in front of a huge crowd. As the sun came up over the Blue Mountains, we had some fantastic racing. Yasser Shaheen tipped into the bunker at the top of the mountain in the battle for the Pro-Am category. The first big incident took out one of the real hopefuls for the race, the WRT BMW, and down in their garage they were inconsolable. Been a little bit of Pro-on-Am action as well that's been penalised at various times through the race, with the GT3 drivers being less than patient. And then Mother Nature took a hold and played her hand. Lightning and thunder and, well, a bit of contact at the top of the mountain as well. But in amongst that, some phenomenal racing. Oftentimes it's been AMG on AMG, but also that blue Porsche number 13 carving its way through the Phantom team, belying the fact that this is their first race. And then wondrous stuff at Australia's fastest motorsport corner. An uncharacteristic error by Daniel Hunkadea broke the left rear suspension on the Triple T car, and that, wow, guys were not happy about what was going on there on the 77 car, excuse me. And that left the Porsches back in again. At the moment, it's Bastian Buus who leads from the Triple T car in second. And here is the tail of the tape with the Pirelli leaderboard. Just under 20 seconds, the gap between first and second, with Lucas Stoltz just menacingly sitting there. This is the two-time winners in the 75. Good results for some of the Pro-Ams, getting well inside the top 10 for the leading cars now. And that's going to be a decent battle to the end of the race, as well, as they've now got all of their pro drivers to do the last 98 minutes or so. And Buzzell class leaderboard has Bastian Buus leading overall. Pro-Am Jordan Love at the moment for 888 JMR, but my goodness, has he got some competition right behind him. Wall Racing, Tony D'Alberto with the beautiful Lamborghini in the red and white colours, leading there in GT4. Daniel Beliski in the Mercedes, number 19. That's been out a long time. And the invitation class, well, that one has, as I said before, been a poison chalice. So still communications issue clearly there, Garth, from the guys with their makeshift boards. That is not the class that I'm familiar with here. 2 wheels and 2-stroke, but that looks too much fun.
Yeah. You know where that is? That's the inside of turn 2. There's a motocross track on someone's property up there.
It's a great looking race.
Every track walk, when you come back here, you have a look at that track and it's getting bigger. Clearly the kids are getting older because the jumps are getting bigger and more brave. It's something that's very cool to check out every time you come to Bathurst. So yes, still radio issues down there at Audi. We're still not exactly sure which car that is, but it's a nervous sign that you hang out when it's box next, because you're never sure whether they actually see it. So they're trying real hard to get their attention. It's the Mark Cini Hallmark car. There it is. So you can only do that so many times before the car runs out of fuel. So you certainly hope that the driver has seen what you need to see. Let's hear from Jack in the lane.
Thanks, Garth. Just an update on Jules Gounon's driving time. We've got confirmation from the officials. He has an hour and 40 driving time left, and it's just clicked over to 1 hour 36. So he's right to get back in and see it through to the checkered flag. And I also tapped Matt Campbell on the shoulder and said, "Hey, mate, are you getting back in this car?" He said, "Absolutely." I said, "Can you tell me when?" He said, "Sometime between now and then."
Yeah, it's a good race car driver answer. That's the kind of answer you'd give, Jacko. So an hour and 40 to go. That's good proof. So that's unpicking one piece of the puzzle. So Lucas Stoltz will hand over the Sun Energy 1 cars. He's got 2 laps left in this stint right now. So the Triple Two will run longer. They've got more laps up their sleeve, which gives them more flexibility. So you can put Jules Gounon in car 75 from now, and he'll get to the end on driver time. You have to stop again.
Yeah, and then you've got to make sure you don't breach the 32-lap stint distance as well. So that's where the window on the 222 car comes in. They can go a bit deeper in this one, and it gives them much more flexibility for the last stop, whenever that may fall. Because then as you get closer to the end of the 12 hours, you can project more accurately what length that last stint is going to be.
By my reckoning, Lucas Stoltz will be coming in this time or the next time around, as he's already on his 32nd lap since he was last in the lane. So there's frantic calculations going on here in the booth. Fortunately, we have pieces of paper, so we don't have to take shoes and socks off. That would be pleasant. In front of the field now, 20.5 seconds, the gap between Bastien Bus, Porsche young driver, won the shootout at Portimao on the Algarve, Southern Europe, at the back end of last year. 3 days of testing, racing, running, PR, and that has been a door open to a career for many drivers in the past. Traffic playing its part again here, gentlemen, and nicely driven by the Vortex 701 Philippe Monel, who is Vortex, but that has led to a closing up. Stoltz was coming anywhere. He's going to come to the pits shortly, but he still wants to maximise where he is on the track.
Both of these drivers need a little bit of race smarts here, because they are in slightly different car races at this point of the afternoon. So a pit stop from this car very soon. Tom Randall can keep lapping. Race smart, hopefully, at the kink. Will he get down the inside?
No, Randall's going to not let him through there. Does Randall pull it up? Yes, he does. Nice job. So Thomas Randall more than up to the task as our race leader. Bastien Boost comes to the lane. So this is an important stop relative to Randall, who comes to the lane. So that's got us by surprise. We expected Randall to go much deeper into this stint than Lucas Stoltz. So Stoltz now with clear air and will assume the lead as the two leaders come to the lane.
Well, I reckon this is Stoltz on his 33rd lap now.
Yeah, he'll be in this lap, and in theory will hand over to Jules Gounon, who'll be good to go to the end. So another massive day of workmanlike stints from Lucas Stoltz, who got to qualify the car yesterday. Their previous 2 wins, Lucas done a lot of the grunt work in the middle of the day, and all the hero stuff was done by Jules Gounon. So Jules, just an incredible display of teamwork and mateship between them, said, no, it's your turn, you go and qualify the car, Luca. He did a really solid job yesterday, and he has been spectacular today in really challenging conditions. So STM go to work. They were scheduled for somewhere around lap 242, 243. So they've come in a little bit earlier than anticipated.
Tyre changing crew on that team haven't done much work for the last 3 pit stops, so they would have had to wake up, because they've triple stinted those wets to get them in the position they are. So
battle guns, where did we put those?
A bit of a refresher course for the tyre changing crew. Here's a battle for the lead, Porsche on Porsche.
Net race lead, and Bastien Bus will return in front of Ayanka Guven. That is critical.
That's big from Bus.
That's massive. Yeah. So that stint has been huge for the blue Porsche. The Grello one's got hot tyres and a hot driver fired up, ready to go. And he gets it very
big
wide.
Understeer, and it won't get off here. It'll spin up.
Yeah, through.
Guven will go. He'll go.
No, not yet.
Boost
not yet. And still not yet. Booster's not going to give him the inside line, but eventually Guven around the outside. But there's a little window into Bastien Boost about what he is prepared to do when it comes down to it.
Newest Porsche young driver against established Porsche works driver, with Thomas Loudenbach, head of Porsche Motorsport, down there watching in pit lane. I think that was all right.
No, that was good hard racing. Hey, they didn't even touch.
No.
So that was good hard racing.
Not AMG like
I'm really enjoying what Bastien Boost is doing in that car.
And now Lucas Stoltz peels off from the race lead. So 1 lap lead for 75 added to their tally. And he should hand this car over now. It's 116 of the 237 laps in today's race, Lucas Stoltz. A very, very busy boy.
We said yesterday he does the grunt work.
Yeah, all of
there you go.
all
116 laps of 237.
May as well be half the race so far. What do you
Chan Guven's done 110.
Yeah. And he's still in the car and going again.
That's great stuff. Racing room. When we talk about racing room, and it's a fairly broad concept, racing room. That's racing room.
Yep.
You want to know what racing room is, then clear that bit of tape.
See how much of the throttle Anshin Guven had to get out of it at 2 and wait for Bastian Boost to collect his car on the cold tyre. Couldn't clear him at the kink, had to hang on the outside. Couldn't clear him at the cutting, had to go all the way around the outside. And the warm tyre worked for him and gave him track position. Good hard racing between the two Porsches. And
look how
there's
much
the
it's
gap.
pulled out.
That's warm tyre versus warming tyre. So whilst Bastian Boost did lose the race lead, as a net gain, that's worked well for the 13 car.
5 seconds he's pulled out in the space of that lap. Now here comes Gilles Gunon out of the pit lane. It's not Gilles Gunon. So Lucas Stoltz scored still in that car to finish the race. So we talked about Lucas Stoltz, Garth, being given the honour of qualifying, and it looks like he's going to do at least...
We're going to need to check his 150 minutes on that. I don't think he's going to go to the end. He's still got one more stop to go.
Lucas Stoltz?
Yeah.
Yes. No, they will stop again.
Yeah, and I would imagine that's when Gilles Gunon will climb aboard. And the 75 Sun Energy One AMG Mercedes.
On that driver point time, Jack Perkins has just pointed out that Tom Randall's stop was to driver time.
Yeah, okay.
Not fuel.
Yeah, which we saw with the leading Porsche early on when Matt Campbell was in the car. He was getting close to that 150 minutes of consistent driving. Remember that once you get out of the car, you've got to be out of the car for 60 minutes, 1 hour before you can get back in again. Now, for most 3-driver cars, that doesn't matter. But for these guys who effectively have got the AM driver out of the way,
turn themselves into a 2-driver
it
car.
effectively becomes a 2-driver car from whenever that AM driver's gone.
Well, at the end of the day, we said earlier, the best strategy is to drive fast, and this has been the fastest car. Doesn't matter if it's wet or dry. They continue to find themselves at the front of the field. So, still feel like they've got one more strategy curveball they've got to get themselves around. Just with where they fall, being slightly off sequence with the majority of the field. Haven't had any rain for a little while, so just, you know, often we sit here and we wish rain to come. Now
It's
sort of
clearing
saying,
up over there.
yeah, but the weather doesn't come from over there, John.
Blue skies out our commentary box window, and that's all that matters.
It's just not about due south.
It's not drying rapidly, though.
No.
They're still doing 2:20s, and if you're with us early in the day, we're talking about that crossover time being somewhere around the 2:15, 2:16 range when you get off the wet weather tyre and put a slick on. Busy behind, BMW versus Mercedes AMG. Raffaele Marciello fending off Brock Feeney for 7th and 8th position. These two cars still on the lead lap of the race. They'll need some help to get into contention to win it, but every position counts at this stage of the day at Mount Panorama. And Brock Feeney gets a good run out of turn 1 and will draw alongside with the help of some aero assist. But as you pointed out earlier, Garth, that BMW's got some engine in a straight line.
Yeah, straight line handling in that BMW is pretty good, isn't it? So it climbs the mountain very, very well. And also we think this 888 National Storage AMG Mercedes has got a bit of bodywork damage, so that won't help its straight line efficiency through the air.
Guys, I'm looking at the nuts off timing, which you can get on the internet. You can watch it. Just see.
So this is for
went on
position.
here.
That's Christopher Haas getting past Cameron Waters.
I seem to think that car's got a card to play as well, actually, the 22 Audi. Lucas Stoltz's pit stop time, line to line, was 0.3 of a second too quick last time around.
It's the scene at Mount Panorama overlooking Brock's skyline, and delighted to confirm that the official attendance, 47,333 people over the 3 days. It's the second largest attendance across 3 days in Bathurst 12-hour history.
Wow.
So well done, and thank you to everyone that's turned out. It was a record number of camping sales for the event this year. So the campgrounds have been absolutely pumping since Wednesday, from one famous endurance race to another. The Nürburgring 24-hour will be part of the Intercontinental GT Challenge later on this year. So just over 47,000 people. This is now one of the premier events on the calendar.
Give yourselves a big round of applause.
Yeah, outstanding. Speaking of premier, let's go down and catch up in the 222 garage with a guy who's done a huge amount of work today. We've got the headset on young gun Thomas Randall. Hello, my friend. Good afternoon. How's your day been?
Yeah, good afternoon, boys. A baptism of fire was probably the best way to explain it. I was pretty happy when Cam was out in the wet, and then Brendan and Mirko, our engineers, said, you're in next, and if it's raining, we'll deal with it. And I said, well, I've actually never driven a GT3 car in the wet before. So, yeah, it was pretty tricky. Obviously, never driven this wet tyre, and just trying to get used to the ABS and just trying different settings, playing with the TC, the brake bias. And, you know, the intensity of the rain just kept changing throughout the whole, double 2.5 stints. I mean, we triple stinted the wet tyre then, and yeah, I guess it sort of worked for us. I mean, I think my fastest lap was like my last lap, and pretty cool to be racing good on there at the end. I think we had a pretty nice battle, and to get the car, to be up, I think we were P2 when I pitted, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle for our car this weekend. Our strengths aren't where we want them, and our weaknesses aren't where we want them. But the rain, I think, has sort of leveled the playing field a bit. I mean, the Porsches, I think, are probably not as strong over the top, but they're very strong in a straight line, and that's something you need here. And I think that's where the wet weather has helped us, utilising the car's strengths. I mean, yeah, just a phenomenal job from the whole team at Scotty Taylor Motorsport. Ash Seawood, who runs the car. It's been an amazing program with Cam Waters, Craig Lowndes. I've had a blast. We've had so many laughs, and I guess the weather station, the spider, the snakes and ladders all have come in handy.
And what will you take away from this then? You know, whatever happens at this point, let's not talk about results because I don't want to jinx anything. Cam's in the car now. The car's sitting in 5th. There's some pit stops to happen ahead of you. What will you take away from this? Win, lose or draw?
I think just the experience. I mean, I've never done a Bathurst 12-hour before. You know, I've never properly raced a GT3 car before until today. The boys let me start this morning in the dark, which was an amazing experience. The visor was a bit loose, kept coming down, which you don't want when it's dark. But yeah, just the experience of it all. I mean, like I said, got to thank Scotty Taylor for letting me drive his car, and everyone putting the trust in me to drive it. Yeah, as I said, it's been a blast, and fingers crossed, yeah, I could do more GT racing in the future.
Tom, I don't know if you've got a screen here, but your car's in the middle of a pretty good battle with Raffaello Marciello right now. Hey, tell us about that triple stint on the wet tyres, especially when the rain was coming through and it was raining quite heavily. You would have lost a lot of tread depth, so was the car difficult to manage in those conditions?
I mean, I think, well, Brendan was saying that people were putting new tyres on and actually going slower. They couldn't activate the tyre. I'm not sure why. I mean, but it seemed like the used tyre was okay, and I think because it kept raining, it kept the tyres cool, and we had a couple of full course yellows in there as well, which kept them cool. I mean, I certainly wasn't cool. Unfortunately, the helmet air left us about an hour and a half into the race, and yeah, so it's been bloody hot in the car. But yeah, as you can see, I've utilised a fair bit of physical strength. Yeah, I only had COVID a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, look, no excuses. Look, as you said, whatever happens from here on out, you know, it's been a blast. We started 13th, and yeah, we got up to 2nd there. Cam knows how to drive in the wet. He's a master around Bathurst, and he does a lot of dirt racing. So if someone can handle the wet, I reckon it's him.
You see into the end now?
Can't take that.
Oh, you can't.
Come on, Tom. It's just us.
It's only us, and then everybody listening on RSL and around the world. That's all.
I'm going to leave you boys guessing.
Oh, you tease.
Hey, Thomas, you've been raising money for Prostate Cancer Foundation. As this team has done so superbly for a long time. I know it's affected your life, not necessarily prostate cancer, but just talk to being part of that program and this great initiative that Scotty and his family and Rebecca and Craig and Lara have been behind so heavily over the last, 3 years now.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I think our sport there's so much opportunity to do stuff like that. And, you know, this is something that Scott's been doing for a couple of years now. I mean, 1 in 5 men die by the time they're 85 from prostate cancer. You know, I went through a cancer battle myself. It wasn't prostate cancer, but in that region. So, yeah, something close to my heart. And look, I got to thank everyone who's donated across the weekend. We've been going pretty hard with the coin bucket, and Lara Lowndes has been on the card machine. So whenever someone says they don't have coins, we've got the backup with the FPOS machine. And, you know, we've been having a blast. Every time someone donates, I was playing the harmonica and Scotty was playing the slide whistle. So we've been having a blast. Yeah, I think that's the main thing. And the awareness side of it, you know, get checked. It's on the rear wing because not enough men get checked early enough.
Where's the harmonica come from, mate? And do you have one handy to play us a little...
you play us out?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't actually carry it on me in the car, but it was actually from a shop. I think it's called the Pear Tree Cafe, and I mean, I just bought a whole chunk of stuff, and I think Scotty was looking at me like, you know, I'm this 6-year-old kid, you know, I've wandered to the other end of the supermarket, but hey, he was pretty encouraging, and, you know, like I said, it's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing you next week in the Thrifty Bathurst 500 for Tickford Racing in the Castrol car. But congratulations on your Herculean effort today, mate. Well done, and hope the rest of the afternoon goes well.
I appreciate it, boys. Thanks for the chat.
Well done, man.
He's a great young character, one of the future superstars of our sport, I think, and already some great results coming his way in the Repco Supercars Championship, and he'll be on the grid this year. They produced a very cool promotional video, Tickford Racing, launching their liveries for the year, and he's alarmingly good at the acting thing as well, Tom, multi-talented. He's done a little bit of commentary with me in the past, and he's frighteningly good at that too. He'll put us all out of a gig one day. Next week, 23, 25 of February, head to supercars.com to get your tickets. And if you're overseas, you can sign up for Superview as well to watch it online. That's next week. This is now. We've got an hour and 18 to go in this one, and Shay is busy in the lane.
With one of the drivers who, if you had started off at the beginning of the day saying to Kelvin van der Linde, all right, we've got just over an hour to go, your car's in the top 5, you got a shot at this win, would you have taken that?
Yeah, I really would have, to be honest. I think in the dry it was very difficult to overtake early on, so we were struggling to make strides to the front. And then the wet came. It looked like we had a bit more options, a bit more ways to play, and yeah, got into the top 3 again, but unfortunately, yeah, just missing that outright pace at the end now.
It would be kind of poetic to have the two brothers, one get pole and one get the race win. Sheldon, obviously, his race coming to an end a lot earlier on. Has he been supporting you throughout all of this, your race now?
Sorry, just say that last bit again. I didn't quite...
Has Sheldon been supporting you in your race now since his is over?
I think he's probably in the room somewhere in the hotel just drowning his sorrows, to be honest. I'm really sorry for him and the team. Obviously, they didn't deserve that. I was right behind following, obviously saw it happen, and it was so unnecessary so early in the race. But yeah, that's racing. It's happened to all of us at some point. We keep fighting. I think we've got a sniff at the podium. Really depends how the rain plays out, you know. So many factors to it, but just great to be back here in Bathurst. I think my brother would have said the same. It's every year an honor to come back, and despite him having a bit of bad luck, I'm sure he's really happy to come back.
This has now become a race where there is no wiggle room in the regulations, so you just have to win it on the racetrack. That puts a smile on your face, I know, to go out and make the driver make the difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you can see it either way. Obviously, we've lost a couple of our strategic options, which we had in the past in Bathurst. We had the fuel saving and a couple of things we could do in the past. Nowadays, it's outright speed, and if you can't overtake, then you kind of follow in the pack. So I think today the rain has spiced up the race, but I think if it was dry, it would have probably been a bit of a, yeah, just driving along in the train. So I'm happy the way things worked out. I think the fans hopefully had a great time watching. And yeah, still just over an hour to go, so still lots to happen.
Good luck getting the trophy.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Just over an hour to go, and now 16 to go, and the times are coming down, particularly at the front of the field. Under 2:20 now for Achan Guven in the leading Porsche, the 912 Grello car. We reckon about 16s is where you are. The one thing I would say is, although the times are coming down when you're staying on line, Garth, this is not like it was before, where there was enough heat in the day and enough heat in the track to be able to dry out the whole track. It's just on the racing line. It is a one-groove track if you were to go on to slicks right now.
It certainly is. I've been noticing and keeping an eye on the times that they're starting to drop under the 220s. Ayan Guven last time round 2:19.0, so the lap times continue to drop. But you're right, John, it is not drying out at the same rate which it dried out this morning, where the track has so much more radiant heat in it from the sun and the heat of the day. That heat of the day is gone. It's much, much cooler now, a cool breeze. And the wind is actually blowing from the opposite direction than it was this morning as well. So a much different weather pattern across the circuit than what we had in the midpoint of the day. But should it not rain again, we will go to slicks at some stage before this race, and that creates a whole other issue around when do you do that, when's the crossover, how does that fit into your driving time, how does that fit into your fuel strategy. So lots of interesting options available from a strategy point of view. Brock Feeney in the 888 AMG Mercedes comes to the lane. That looked like Michael Grenier suited and booted, ready to jump aboard that car, and I would say he's bringing that car home. It's Grenier. So remember, this car's got some bodywork damage, so I'm curious to see whether they dive underneath and have a bit of a look at that, because when Brock Feeney left pit lane, we heard it, and it was pretty significant. So they'll do the normal service straight away. Driver's change gets underway, fuel rig connects.
And you can do remedial work whilst the car is up, so long as you have the solid safety stands around the jacking points. Well, they're not looking at the front, not yet. They haven't offered tyres to that car either, so they're learning as well.
They learnt from the 222 team, whether to stay with the warm tyre. There's the team car, the 88. That's got some sparks, and has that got some issues underneath as well?
Place.
In the mid part of the car.
That car was off earlier with Prince Jeffrey behind the wheel. As we circle back to our race leader, 10 seconds the margin. But a reminder, this Porsche slightly out of sync with the other key contenders for the race. And the big question mark now is, can they make it to the end on one stop or two? And they will be the first to roll into pit lane. That's the big question mark, with Ayan Guven leading the race. Jack?
Yeah, guys, really cool to be down here with Valentino Rossi. You didn't drive the car in the wet, but with just over an hour to go, P5, potential for the podium.
Yeah, it's a great shame for the rain, also for all the fans, because they take a lot of water, and also for us because I cannot do my third stint on the wet. We prefer to let Lello and Maxime continue to drive, and also for our potential, because on the dry we can fight for the victory. So, but you know, now if the condition remain dry and we can put the slick. It's not over. It's more than 1 hour, and usually if we put the slick in this condition, our car is very fast, so we can try.
Have you put your helmet away, or you may jump in at the end yourself?
No, Maxime will go. So for me, I think that is finished. But anyway, I enjoy a lot. I make more than 2 hours on the car, and I improve a lot my pace compared to last year, and I can fight with the top guys, so I'm happy.
I have to ask you, what do you tell your friends about Bathurst when you get back to Italy?
You know, it's a very famous racetrack in Europe, especially because we play a lot with the simulator, you know. And it's a great weekend because I have a great atmosphere, a lot of fans, and the track is fantastic.
Would you like to come back in October and race the Bathurst 1000?
Yeah, no, I think that I will come back next February with the BMW.
Perfect, mate. Thank you for your time, and thank you for coming out to Bathurst. We love having you here.
Thank you very much. Ciao tutti. Ciao.
Hi, ciao tutti. He's been an absolute superstar in everything that he's done this weekend.
Well, we know he's a superstar out of the race car, and I think today he proved he's a superstar inside the race car as well. He said, I'm happy with what he did. Yeah. Man, he should be very happy with what he did, because he's made the point that he went with the fast guys, and the fast guy that he went with was Gilles Gounod, who've won this race the last 3 years in a row. Front splitter on the 88, so that was the sparks that we saw in a replay earlier, and that car came to the lane, and they've got the
Bondo on it.
100 mile an hour tape. You probably need 200 mile an hour tape for these cars, but I'm not sure that that's going to do what they need it to do.
Now, you see, Colin White down at Ginetta would have had a couple of metal brackets on that, and the rivet gun straight through it. He would have had that sorted in about 25 seconds. I kid you not.
Did a fencing wire and chewing gum.
Yeah.
Cable ties.
Absolutely MacGyvered that to the hilt. The 24 hours at Sebring that we had a few years ago where the Ginetta was there, it was all kinds of different colours with tape and all kinds on it. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to stay together, particularly when you're getting to an hour and 10 minutes. Still a huge international audience. Hello to San Diego and Randy Sherwood watching us in on the west coast of the USA. Thank you for joining in with the conversation, all of you, at hashtag B12HR, and there's still 70 minutes to go, and we're still scratching our head there. I'm not sure we know who's going to win this quite yet.
And Chen Guven making his way down Conrod Straight and starting to look for the wet edges of the racetrack. He's been starting to tease out whether slick tyres might become an option towards the end of this one. And the crossover lap time, last time we went from wets to slicks, was just under a 2:16. And last time round, the fastest car on track was Lucas Stoltz with a 2:16.4. So we're starting to get back towards that territory that a slick tyre might be the tyre to be on. But you made the point earlier, John, that the dry line is a much narrower dry line this time around than last time when the track dried out. And you can see right there, Michael Grenier turning in and losing the rear on a cold, wet tyre. So should you go to a slick, you need to make sure you stay well within the tram tracks that is a dry line around the racetrack.
And although we've lost some cars through reliability and contact, there's still enough traffic out there, even accounting for the fact that one or two might come back as walking wounded in the last hour, to take the checkered flag. Whether or not they're officially classified, there's a whole other bit of calculation to do to make that. But people would like to come out and take the checkered flag, so you're going to have to go offline, and people are hunting for the wet now.
You certainly have to. I mean, there's enough of a dry line for it to be overheating the wet tyre. So any chance that you can, you go looking for some standing water to cool the tyre.
But given what we know about how long it takes to heat up the slick, even when it was warm, much warmer than it is now, having to go offline to pass someone and lose all the heat out of your slick that you've assiduously built up, it's going to be tough.
Well, what was also interesting, just tracking those lap times, it went from 220, 220, 220, 219, bang, 16, 16.
Yeah.
So they're not far. So they're all just running now until that next pit stop, where they can hopefully put slicks on and fuel and then just get to the end.
The reason that happens, Rich, is the track, it almost opens up. You can see it go from dark grey to light grey when the dry line actually opens up, and it opens up rapidly once it starts to dry out. So you can actually see down through the S's and the dipper there, it was actually still quite wet because it's shaded from the trees through there. Lucas Stoltz up the inside into Forest Elbow. So although we're starting to see the lap times for the crossover, I'm not sure the conditions are there yet, but they're coming. They are certainly coming, and you do not want to bowl a wide right there. And Bastien Booz.
Right on cue.
So that is on cue as far as staying in the tram tracks, and that's on a hot, wet tyre. So we're still some time away from a slick tyre, but will that line up with the next round of pit stops? Fascinating strategy-wise how this is going to play out.
67 minutes to go as the AMG heads into pit lane, and that's going to be tight to get to the end from here. They might just have to make one extra stop. It'll all depend on how quickly this dries up, but it is drying up now here at the mountain for the Repco Bathurst 12 Hours 2024.
If you're planning your next getaway, why not select this part of the world? Bathurst is a sensational place to come and visit. Perfect scenery. There's great shopping in the vicinity as well. farmers markets. You could go gold panning, believe it or not. The river just near Sofala. The Macquarie River's got some great cycling trails nearby. Adventure playground. The Abercrombie Caves aren't far from here. And plenty of natural wildlife too. In fact, on any given day of the week, if you go for an amble around the mountain, you'll see plenty of Skippy and his furry friends. It's a great part of the world. We're thoroughly enjoying it in a captivating Repco Bathurst 12-hour, which delivers us somewhere in the vicinity of 6 or 7 contenders, and we're not sure which one of them will come out on top in 65 minutes and 30 seconds at the end of this race.
Raffaele Marciello has just gone under the 2-minute 16, a 2:15.7. So there's that track development, that track improvement, and the speed and the performance coming back to the BMW number 46. Remember, it's not really got that hot today for the BMW with the turbochargers. It's still quite a heavy atmosphere, so that car is loving that. But I would be very, very careful about going on to slicks. Some of the passes we saw just a few minutes ago, when you go offline, down into the elbow on slick tyres, that would be treacherous.
Well, the track might be ready for slicks, but from a strategy point of view, not quite. So they're playing the game right now and trying to extend this stint as long as they can into the race to get to that final pit stop, to fill the car up to the end, to put a driver who's got driving time up his sleeve to get to the end, and then put a slick tyre on for that last stint.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. If this was a heads-up race, someone would be in and on a slick tyre if they didn't have to do an 85-second pit stop as part of the regs. So they have to take all that into consideration and try and line everything up from a strategy point of view. These two cars now, Christopher Haas and Raffaele Marciello, the two fastest cars on track at the minute. So Stoltz just did a 15.2, so everyone now starting to find lap time.
And a cracking battle, by the way, still going on at the bottom end of the top 10, 9th, 10th and 11th for the Pro-Am podium. Alex Riberas with about 6 seconds on Alessio Picariello, Mercedes versus Porsche, and then another, well, barely a second further back, Jamie Whincup in the 88, chasing them both down at the moment for the Moselle Pro-Am Cup. So, both within a race.
Christopher Haas and Raffaele Marciello looking for as much wet track as they can find, but they're starting to run out of it. It's actually down Conrod and up Mountain Straight, down Pitt Straight, where you traditionally go to try and cool the tyre. They're running out of wet stuff to run in, so then you start hanging on a little bit wider here at the exit of the turn 2 for the run up to the cutting, and you start to put your car in some stranger positions simply to keep the tyre cool and run it through the wet. And you might say, well, why would you go off the dry line and into the wet line? But the wet tyre actually works better like that. We heard from Paul Tracy saying earlier that it was actually more grip in the greasy. It was trickier in the greasy conditions, and you're better off to run the car in the wet than you were in the greasier conditions. So you just step the car offline in a few strategic positions to keep the tyre cool.
It looks like a road tyre because it's got grooves on the circumference, so lateral grooves, and the ones that run across are called sipes. They're the seeps.
Channel the water,
they channel the waterway. You don't get, it's a common misconception, you don't get the grip from the grooves, you get the grip from the bits in between. That's what's touching the ground, and you're wearing that away. And the construction of the tyre and the compound of the black stuff, there's very little, if any, rubber in it now. It's synthetic materials in tyres. That is what gives you the grip, and it's very different from what the slick tyre is, because there's more of the slick tyre on the road. You can do different things with it. So when it goes, if you get too much surface temperature and overheat the carcass, when it goes, a wet weather tyre goes, you can't get it back. You just can't get it back. And you'll have had that.
Oh, yeah. And around here, it is hard work because it's high speed, long, constant radius corners. In comes Raffaele Marciello. So what tyre do they stick on this car?
Slick.
It has to be a slick tyre. Has to be a slick tyre for this car.
While we're waiting.
2-2-2.
So there you go. Oh, I feel like...
Oh, hang on a minute. That's banned.
Cameron.
That's now banned in iRacing, cooling your tyres down in sim racing world.
It's banned in Australia too, because there was a guy that used to race in supercars called Shane van Gisbergen that was doing it at Sydney Motorsport Park. And they said, no, can't do that anymore. I don't think Cam was trying to do it. He just forgot that he's in a left-hand drive car.
Well, he's been racing on the mud all summer in clay and sprint car racing, so wanted to feel at home. So slicks are going on car 46. This is the first of the outright contenders making a stop, theoretically, to get to the end of the show today.
And the point, Rich, you make a good point there, because they did have to come in now. They were only 13, 14 laps into the stint. So this is now back timing to time. And they're going, right, we're going from here. Here's the roll of the dice. We think we could get an advantage by going early. In this first part of the race, people staying out have the advantage, but they're going to have hotter, slick tyres when everybody else comes in. And if it doesn't rain again, this might be a strategic masterstroke from Vincent Vos and the rest of WRT.
So that car, as it's dried out, has had some serious pace coming back into it. So it wasn't great in the wet, that front splitter. So the repair did not last very long for Johor Motor Racing Triple Eight. We were watching Alex Riberas earlier. He's actually just stopped and was leading the Pro-Am class. Alessio Picariello now leads that in the Manthey EMA number 911 and 9th outright for that car with Harry King and Yasser Shahin. So that's a fascinating battle. That is far from decided, the Pro-Am fight, going right down to the end.
So here we go. We are into the last hour of the Repco Bathurst 12-hour. Boy, have we seen some magic moments here at this mountain in this final hour of the race. You couldn't believe that a 12-hour race always comes down to the finish. So let's just quickly recap the history here and some of the incredible things that we have seen late in the race. How about this one, 2015? Godzilla up Mountain Straight in the hands of Katsumasa Chiyo, passing it felt like everybody on that restart. The heroics in 2015 to win that race. Let's move forward to how about this moment, 2017, Wing Cup versus Shane van Gisbergen. Wing Cup with his wheels on the dirt as SV3 tried to defend. Ultimately, the STM car crashed out on that day, and we heard the amazing interview with Maro Engel. That was 2017, happened to the last hour. This was a shocker, wasn't it? 2018, the red flag came out, ended that race early with the WRT Audi leading at that point, and they were smoked on their strategy, ultimately winning the race. Thankfully, both those drivers were in time okay. We move forward to the very next year, hopefully. There we go, 2019. One of my favourite moments ever at the mountain. Matt Campbell, the heroics to the inside of Jake Dennis, now a Formula E world champion, down the inside at the elbow, getting Porsche's first win here in the 12-hour with some true Matty Campbell heroics. You bet that was in the last hour. And how about this one from last year? The two AMG Mercedes, Maro Engel trying desperately to get to the inside of Jules Gounon, spinning him around, redress the position. Gounon goes on to win that race. So many amazing moments that happened in the last hour on a drying track with 7 cars on the lead lap still. Jack Perkins, you get the feeling that last hour is going to turn it on once again.
Absolutely right, Chad. The stage is set. Young Matty Campbell ready to go. Is he our best chance for Australian victory? The truth will come in the pit stop strategy. When he gets back in the car, can they make it home on just the one stop, or will they have to stop twice from here? So victory for Porsche and an Australian driver may lie in the hands of young Matt Campbell.
Or it could lie in the hands of young Jackson Evans, Matt Campbell's roommate, when the two of them first moved to Stuttgart, Germany to pursue the dream of becoming a factory Porsche driver. It is Jackson who is being tasked to take the number 13 Phantom Global Racing Porsche to the checkered flag. And if you look over my shoulder, there's a man whose name is Timo Bernard. He has been helping out this team to try and adapt to racing over here. He has been one of the reasons that this team has done so well. And why, you might ask? Well, because Timo Bernard's won every major race that there is for Porsche as well as for Audi.
Nice little scene setter from our team down in pit lane, building up to the finish of this race with 57 minutes to go. This is the moment where Sun Energy One engages Jules Gounon mode and plugs in the 3-time winner of this race into 75. Chris Haase will be behind the wheel of 22. He's in the lane now as well in the Audi. So second and third on the road. I tell you what, there's some people that are going to be properly stressed if this comes down to a fight between Jackson Evans and Matt Campbell at the end of this race, because they've basically grown up together in motorsport here and indeed in their journey overseas. So that could be a particularly interesting thing between the Porsche boys.
So curious to see where this car pops out relative to Maxime Martin, because Martin was the first car to take slicks of our front runners. So did the overcut on the hot, wet tyre work better than going onto the cold, slick tyre in these tricky conditions? Cam Waters has already been in and out and taken a slick tyre, while we're getting that scene setter from pit lane and our crew. So the 75 car has dropped and waiting for his time. Here's Maxime Martin. He has a bit of traffic. Sector times are strong on this lap, but it's taken a lap or two to get the temperature where he needs to do it. And there's an example of having to go offline and get the pass done on a wet line before he has to turn into the chase. Gounon's done. He's up and out and up mountain straight. Here comes Haase in the 22 Audi.
And Max Martin was 3 seconds quicker than the leader in the first sector last time around. And he's now up to temperature or thereabouts with those Pirelli slicks.
Certainly much more temperature than Christopher Haase. So Haase has come out in front, but he has a cold tyre, whereas Martin has 3 laps of temperature in the tyre in the WRT M4 BMW. So whilst Haase has the lead right now, he'll have to stop the car to make a turn here at 2. Does Martin try and go around the outside? Does he switch back? Oh, now he has to go offline. Haase is not going to make it easy for him. Does he have enough run to get around the outside before the kink? Yes, he does. That was critical. He had to get it done there, because if he didn't get it done before the cutting, a single line across the top.
And that was purely temperature and grip there that
so
gave Max.
Undercut worked.
Yeah, it did this time. It did this time. That's amazing. And that, I mean, it's brave, but he had the confidence in the tyre. Quite clearly, that's a performance advantage then for that number 46 and for Maxime Martin. So anyone else pitting ahead of him, and we'll now have to see where they come out in relation. Have WRT played the blinder by going early? But you've got to ask the question, can he get to the end without stopping again? Because he was the first, Rich, to go down the lane and put the Pirelli slicks on.
Stop with around an hour to go, so I'd expect that they should be able to get to the end from there.
So change for car 13, Bastian Boos out. And as we heard from Shea Adam, Jackson Evans in to finish the race. There's M. Campbell. So Matt will jump aboard car 912. So they've, Guven's been 24 laps since he stopped. He's done 126 laps today, Anke Guven. He carried the back of Manthey EMA.
Gonna come this time. They do not want to leave it any later. And here he peels off left-handed into the pit lane. Meantime,
so this is the pass. Martin on Haase. Just has to wait in the middle of turn 2, then gas it up and hope that you get the drive off 2 and get around the outside, because you do not want to hang around the outside at the kink in a drying track with a narrow, dry line. And got the job done, did Martin.
Fair to say he was having to work on his throttle application there. So, crucial stop now for Manthey, EMA, and Matt Campbell reinstalled.
They have to nail this. No errors, no little 1%ers with a breach of regulations. Nail the 85 seconds maximum or minimum time in pit lane from pit entry to pit out. Take an extra second if you need it, because they had a little bit of track position, but this could be the car race right here.
Blowing out the dirt from the radiators there. That's an air exit that channels air up over the front of what would normally be the luggage compartment in a 911, but that's full of gubbins under there, including cooling radiators. So they're going to set Matt Campbell off on stun. Gets a bit of wheel spin out of the box to put some heat in the rear Pirelli slicks. And this is going to be an important rejoin, Garth.
So Gounon making his way into the chase as Matt Campbell makes his way to the exit of pit lane. So
Matt's got track position, but he's got cold Pirelli tyres.
And the team car from Manthey EMA making it a little bit more difficult for Gounon to get around. So there's Matt Campbell halfway up Mountain Straight as Jules Gounon comes across the line. So a 13.8 that lap for Gounon. And he has temperature in his tyres. So Matty Campbell, although he has a reasonable gap over Jules Gounon. That'll close down quickly as the tyre comes up to temperature for Matt Campbell, but I'd have to say that Campbell's got enough up his sleeve that he can bring the tyre in gently and still be okay from Gounon as it stands right now.
And just the track evolution and also bringing the tyre in. Maxime Martin's 3 laps since he stopped. Sitting at 14.1, 10.5, 7.5. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, so they're now so quickly back up to something resembling proper race pace in one of these cars. 75, Sun Energy 1, Jules Gounon, in a reverse of last year, is hunting down Matt Campbell. Remember last year, it was Grello doing the same to 75. So the same protagonists have found their way to the front, just in a slightly reversed order, 12 months later.
Rich, when did Gounon make his stop?
He's showing 2 laps.
Right, okay. So no real advantage or disadvantage there in terms of tyre and fuel.
They should be good to go now, right to the end. And the only question mark will be is with that stint length we've been talking about. They have 33 laps in a stint. If this race, if they can do 33 laps in 50 minutes, well then the pace is going to be particularly hot.
Yeah, I can't see that. I think I'm seeing 28, 27.
And in that case, 912's got 2 laps advantage over 75 because Matt just stopped. Gounon's already been out for 2 laps. Yeah. Give you a lap time check as they come round. So Campbell out on cold Pirelli tyres this time by. The margin 13 seconds at the elbow at the last timing intermediate. So Campbell across the line to start his first flyer. And here's Jules Gounon now in 75, being chased by Phantom Global with Jackson Evans. Gounon on 11.6. Jackson Evans across the line now in third at a 13.0. So Gounon with those extra lap advantage in tyre warm-up and preparation, showing the extra pace in the margin, 12.8 seconds now.
Meantime, the bottom of the top 10, the Moselle Pro-Am Cup for Jamie Whincup, the leader. The 88 car has got, let me see, oh, it's got a deal. That's opened up, hasn't it? That's 20 seconds.
Yeah, I think he's going to need it, though, because that car's in a world of pain with the front splitter.
Yeah.
Saw them trying to tape that together, and you've heard from our effects mics, that thing is flapping hard, so that's not going to have the front downforce that they would expect it would. So,
and Ross Gunn is chasing him down.
So Ross Gunn is the next car behind, like you said, John, 21 seconds behind.
Well, and then the next one in line is Piccarello in the Porsche. And remember what the Porsches did early over a longer run in dry conditions. Those cars were the strongest at the end of a stint before a pit stop. So in the push to the line, they could be in particularly good shape.
Picariello had a horrible last lap compared to 2 cars ahead, 220 against 209 and a 212. So I'm not sure whether he got traffic in the wrong place, because traffic taken away, of course, particularly round here. That's the battle for the Pro-Am, and we'll be celebrating them as well at the end. We said we wouldn't kind of talk to it until we got to this area. We're inside the last hour now, so a couple of little bits and pieces that change. Should it be required to have a safety car as the vortex goes around New South Wales, visit New South Wales corner? I'll come into the restart. All the lap cars have got to go down the pit lane and get out of the way. And in that 701 is Julien Boileau, the guy who started the safety car this morning, the first safety car this morning. Now he's rolled so he can see back down Mountain Straight. And is he going to try and flick turn it? He won't have enough lock. Oh, put your foot down, you would have made that there.
Hope it doesn't bottom out here.
It's exactly what's happened. It's absolutely exactly what. Oh, has he paused? He's right on the apex of Griffin. Visit New South Wales corner. He's just needed to put that
safety car boards and flags.
Safety car. All bets are off. All bets are off. Campbell, Gounon, Jackson Evans are going to be line astern on a restart with no cars between them. And that Max Martin next up. Then Chris Haase. I've had a feeling about the 22 car. I said that earlier on, and Chris Haase was looking well confident in that Audi earlier on. Cam Waters, Grenier, Mauro Engel, and then Jamie Whincup, Ross Gunn, and Alessio Pecorello for the top 11. They're battling for Pro-Am. Oh my goodness, the drama. The drama. Jerry Bruckheimer couldn't write this one. This is an absolute, going to be an absolute run to the flag. Proper shootout. 46 minutes on the clock.
Can I walk you through the last 4 Bathurst 12-hour winners? 2023, Jules Gounon. 2022, Jules Gounon. 2020, Jules Gounon. 2019, Matt Campbell. So the last 4 races between these 2 guys at the front of the field.
You only have to rewind 12 months. It was these 2 guys
in
just
reverse
the other
order.
opposite direction. So does Jules Gounon now have the chance to have a crack at Matt Campbell?
He was the hunted last time.
Yes.
Now he's the hunter. He might have to get aggressive. We know how good that Porsche is on the restarts and at the end of the stints. So all bets are off now. Strategy has gone out the window. Doesn't matter. Everything's unwound. The stagger, if you like to use an athletics term, the stagger has unwound because everybody goes full rich, flat out, full send to the finish. Nobody's going to have any worries about the stint lengths because we're doing slower lap times. Nobody's going to have any worries about their tyres because they're all on slicks, and nobody has any worries about fuel either. So it's all coming down to however many laps we get and how much time we get once we get the vortex moved from Griffin Bend.
It's even better than that, John, because there'll be no lap cars between
correct.
the 2 of them.
Yeah, they've got to pull off.
So
they've got to go down the pit lanes.
Heads up. Absolutely heads up racing.
How many on the lead lap right now, Trilsey?
Wait till Mick Grenier crosses the line just to make sure that
it's 7, isn't
Triple Eight. Yeah, I think it is, because the Gruppa M130 was a lap down with their various melodies they've had today. So the equal most cars on the lead lap at the finish of this race is 7. It's happened 3 times in the past.
And importantly, no more lucky dog. That window's closed.
Yeah.
So no one else is jumping onto the lead lap at the end of this one. And also importantly, that means that they won't catch the lapped car or the lucky dog cars as quickly. So we'll have a green, clear racetrack for a longer run before we get to traffic. So plenty of interest at this restart once we go green again.
The interest for mine sits in 3rd place with Jackson Evans, and the performance of the Porsches we've been talking about all day over a stint, and the pace that they have been having. This is building to a massive finish. There will be 40 minutes to go in this race, and some of the very best drivers in GT racing in the world will be fired up, ready to go in a shootout to win Australia's international endurance race. And the 2 guys that duked it out last year in a different order will battle for the lead. Queensland's Matt Campbell and the flying Frenchman Jules Gounon, who stands on the edge of history, potentially with a 4th straight Bathurst Enduro win, and that has never, ever been done before. This is going to be huge.
If you're going to move now, do it.
Do it real quick.
Get the kettle on, get whatever you need for the next 43 minutes, because you are not going to want to go anywhere. If you've made it this long wherever you are around the world, congratulations. But whatever you've got to get into yourself, whether it's coffee or chocolate or whatever, to get you to the end of this race, make sure you do it now. This is drama for the leader in Pro-Am. This is the car that Jamie Whincup is aboard at the moment, and they've been having recurring problems with the front end of that AMG, and the racer tape is not cutting it, I'm afraid. They can't get enough structural rigidity into that. As soon as that car gets up to speed, it just breaks the tape, because that is what the splitter is meant to do, create downforce and pull the front of the car down. Question now, gentlemen, on the restart, who gets heat back into their Pirelli slicks quickest?
It's a good question, because we've spoken about the Porsche, how it's taken a few extra laps to bring the tyre in. The car that I want to watch at this restart is the car in fourth, Maxime Martin.
Yeah.
Because that thing up Mountain Straight has been electric. So Jackson Evans, who's currently third, better make sure he gets through turn one and gets through turn one well, because it doesn't matter if Evans defends to the inside, Martin will just go straight around the outside. We've seen him do it already today in that car, and it's been so strong in a straight line.
Well, just casting my mind back to another famous Bathurst 12-hour moment when a big turbocharged front-engine coupe started on a late race restart in fourth position and led by the time they got to the hump at Mountain Straight. 2015, Katsumasa Chio and a Nissan GTR. Not a completely dissimilar theory between those two cars as well, with the M4. I don't know if that car's got it in it, but they'll give it a good go.
It's not quite GTR spec, the BMW, but
it has
reminiscent of that for sure.
Hope today.
There's a bit going on here with the 911 car wanting the 20 Invitational IRC car to maybe just get on with it, because the queue has formed and Adam Hargraves is not. So whether he is still in the 80k an hour mode or now is starting to get going, but the safety car's on actually Mountain Straight, so it's holding up some of our Pro-Am competitors.
I can't see race control waiting for them to catch up, to be honest. We're inside the last hour and they'll want to get this back to green as quickly as possible.
Lights haven't gone out yet, the BMW XM safety car.
I think there may have been a miscommunication to Hargraves, perhaps, who was still doing 80k's an hour, but they're allowed to catch up to the back of the safety car queue now.
We've seen that a few times today, actually, with little clumps of cars that have been off the back of the queue.
And I think that's the transition where we've changed to this all-field slow to 80 kilometres an hour, maintain 80 kilometres an hour until the track is safe, and then you can transition and form up, so you don't then have to follow the 80k an hour rule set. So that's what they're doing now, but some of the Australian drivers just adjusting a little bit to that on the run.
And you can understand that, Garth, because what you don't want is people trying to catch the end of the safety car train while we've still got track workers pulling someone out of the fence or clearing up some debris. So I don't have a problem.
Yeah, and the idea behind that is that if the cars are all doing 80 kilometres an hour at all times, that means the workers can get out onto the track more quickly and get the recovery done more quickly, rather than waiting for the field to bunch up and then only doing it in the gap in between when the field goes by. So it is designed to make a safety car period a much shorter halt or pause on the race, if you like.
Under 40 minutes to go. We're behind the XM, the BMW XM safety car, and it's all to play for. History in the making, or an Aussie win with Matt Campbell? Find out in the next 37 minutes.
It's been an incredible day on Mount Panorama. It always is.
It's not finished yet.
It's not. The Repco Bathurst 12-hour at 5:45 a.m. this morning. Another day full of drama. A key contender eliminated early in a huge accident on the run-up to the cutting. For Charles Wirtz, it was day over. For WRT, it was day over, but they've still got one horse in this race. That was a big moment for the number 2 Audi. They would ultimately fail to finish this race as well. The thunder and lightning and pouring rain came, and Jack LeBrock copped the full force of Brock's Skyline at the top of the hill and pirouetted down. A brave run all day for Craft Bamboo Racing in the Caltex car. They were good, they were contenders. Daniel Juncadella found the fence, and all of a sudden they weren't contenders, and Maxi Goetz expressed the feelings of many in that team, I'm sure. The pit stop battle was well and truly on, and the two Porsches have spent a lot of today trading blows at the front of the field. And this was a particularly intense battle, with one car on good tyres, one that had already been out there, and Grello went past on the run up the hill around the cutting. The battle was well and truly alive. And then Audi, who have just been grimly hanging on with car 22 all day. Chris Haas is behind the wheel of that car now, was battling with Maxime Martin, and the BMW was able to squeeze past. And then a safety car was called with the Invitational Class Vortex, the French entry, making their debut at Mount Panorama. Griffin's Bend brought out the safety car. 29-year-old Queenslander Matt Campbell leads the race. And this is how the Pirelli leaderboard looks for another Bathurst shootout. All the way to the checkered flag.
11 hours and 20 minutes of a qualifying race, Crailsey, for a 40-minute dash.
And it'll be Matt Campbell and Kenny Habul who do it once again. Oh.
Incredible.
Let us know where your favourite driver is at the moment. Hashtag B12HR on the socials. We'd love to get your thoughts on who you think's going to win the race. Jump online and join the conversation. There's a huge global audience watching this one.
Call it now, though. We don't want you waiting till 2 laps from the end.
No, that's...
I want to know.
There's the class leaders. So Boysell Pro-Am still led by 88, the Johor Racing 888 car. Wouldn't that be a feat to win at Bathurst a week after winning 2 races back-to-back in Asian Le Mans in Abu Dhabi at Yas Marina. Tony D'Alberto, the Lamborghini, leading the silver class. And they've got a couple of laps up their sleeve, actually, over Luke Yilden. Adam Christodoulou continues to lead the way in Team 19 in the Mercedes in GT4, and Adam Hargraves on top in arguably the hardest class to win today, the Invitational class, because it has been a tale of woe for so many contenders. So the maths is simple. There are 35 minutes and 35 seconds until the final lap of the race starts. We're counting down to the final lap at 17:43 local time and the east coast of Australia. Matt Campbell in a Porsche leads. Jules Gounon in a Mercedes is second. They've won the last 4, Bathurst 12 hours between them. Jackson Evans is third for Phantom Global, a team that's never raced here before. And then a BMW sits in 4th place with Maxime Martin. And there are 4 brands in the top 5 because Chris Haase in a very speedy Audi R8 sits in 5th position.
And when we come back to racing, all of the lap cars will have to go down the pit lane. It's all come down to this.
And these are the lap cars. So no wave by, there's no lucky dog in the final hour of the race. They'll have to go through pit lane and drop right to the very back of the queue to get them out of way. So it'll stack all of our contenders up nicely for this run to the flag. Expect one more lap under the BMW XM safety car.
I'm just leaning out to watch these lap cars come through, because in there is the Boysell Pro-Am battle. And there are cars between 1st and 2nd in that scrap. Jamie Winkup has got a couple of lap cars between himself
race
and Ross
control
Good.
to safety car.
Send race control.
Race control safety car, maintain 80 kph. Lights out this lap, return to pit lane, please.
James Taylor, Motorsport Australia Race Control, confirming what Richard Crail thought, that we will go green next time by, with all the main players line astern. All the lap cars, all the traffic pollution is out of the way. Heads up racing with 30 minutes to go of 12 hours. That is the Repco Bathurst 12 hour for 2024.
Crailsey asked for the audience and to give their thoughts. Is it Gounon? Is it Campbell? Well, I can tell you on the RWEC Discord group, it's about 50-50, so they know as much as we do right at the moment. And
they're on the fence as well.
Well, they are a very well-informed group. It is our WEC, but they follow all endurance racing across the world. There's a lot of collective knowledge in that group, and if one man vote, one vote, it's about evenly split between the Porsche and the triple winner, Jules Gounon, going for the 4th win in a row. Never been done before
in any endurance race, and that includes the 1000.
That's incredible, actually.
So Peter Brock did everything at this place, never won 4 times in a row. Larry Perkins, Jim Richards, Jamie Winkup, Craig Lowndes, all won 3 in a row. Jules Gounon has won 3 in a row. Nobody has done it 4 times in a row. It would be unique Mount Panorama Bathurst history.
It'd be 3 in a row for AMG as well, of course, and his two co-drivers.
Well, yeah, for Sun Energy One, it would be an enormous feat. And Kenny Habul, Peter Brock was his idol growing up. He owns one of Brock's old race cars. So that would be an enormous accomplishment. But what about Porsche? What about the job these guys have done today? They've had penalties through pit lane. They've had all sorts of drama. They've worked their way through the field, and ultimately it comes down to the guy that delivered Porsche their first ever Bathurst victory. Porsche had never won anything here. They'd never won a major enduro. It was the only box they had to tick in their storied history, and this guy did it in 2019. And now he finds himself in a position to do it again.
And as I said when we were talking to Matty in the pit lane, it wasn't the perfect Manthey run that we get used to. There have been mistakes made, but they've battled through it. They've adapted, and they've found the pace, P-A-C-E, when they have needed it. And now we go to war.
These are the beautiful Blue Mountains. You pass by this very location, the Three Sisters, just outside of Katoomba. There's a cool old racetrack there too, by the way. Catalina Park, you should check that out. Waterfalls, scenic walks, just about everything. Some great coffee shops just tucked away in the little villages as you cross the Blue Mountains via Bells Line or the Great Western Highway. And it leads you to this direction where we are set for a massive showdown once again. Bathurst has delivered us something incredibly special, and at the front of the field, two of arguably the best GT drivers in the world. You can make an argument for both of them.
Yeah.
Matt Campbell, a young Aussie who's forged a career overseas and is now driving for Porsche and Roger Penske, and Jules Gounon, who's won them all but calls this place his most special racetrack and stands on the edge of Bathurst history, potentially winning 4 endurance races in a row. There are 30 minutes to go in the Repco Bathurst 12-hour. It's all to play for, with Porsche, Mercedes, BMW and Audi fighting it out for a win in Australia's International Enduro.
And look at the talent behind them as well. Jackson Evans, one of the up-and-comers. Max Martin, Chris Haase in the Audi. Then Cameron Waters, Mickey Grenier, Engel, Mauro Engel as well. Jamie Winkup still leading the Pro-Am category ahead of Ross Gunn and Alessio Picardiello. Here comes the AMG drafting up Mountain Straight. That big front engine car with loads of torque. Is he close enough? I don't think he is. He'll show the headlights to Matt Campbell. Try and just disrupt the concentration of the young Queenslander. It's not worked. And now the Porsche, will the Porsche make its advantage tell as it heads over the top?
The Porsche's about 8 feet wide. The racing line's about 10 feet wide. That's it. At the moment, the key passing opportunities, if you put a couple of wheels out, you're going to be in trouble. It's still very, very damp off the racing line. So Matt Campbell's protected slightly from that, but you would never rule out Jules Gounon for making an attempt at this one. There's the Phantom Global Porsche sitting in third. Jackson Evans, housemate of Matt Campbell. They grew up together. They came out of the McElrea School of Porsche Racing up in Queensland. The young Kiwi has driven superbly today with that brand new team to Mount Panorama. And then BMW, how about them?
And even if Jackson Evans can't get by Jules Gounon and challenge for the lead, he might actually be doing his Porsche teammate, and they're not in the same team, but they're all Porsche at the end of the day. He might be doing him a solid here by holding Max Martin in that BMW, which is quick in a straight line. It likes the cooler temperatures, but at the moment, there's a gap beginning to form, Garth Tander, between the leader and this battle for second, third and fourth.
1.5 seconds is the gap between Matt Campbell and Jules Gounon as they left Forest Elbow at the end of the second sector. So Campbell's had a blinder restart lap here on cold tyres. Has absolutely dropped Jules Gounon.
Stewards have imposed pit lane penalties, cars 10 and 25. Breach of safety car procedure, failed to proceed through pit lane.
So they're deep in the field. Some of our lap cars didn't come through the lane as required late in the race. That won't affect what's going on at the front of the field. Matt Campbell a 206.2, Jules Gounon a 207.7. So 1.5 seconds up the road goes Matt Campbell, and we teased that it might take the Porsche a lap or two to bring his tyres in because it's taken longer than most to get the tyre up to temperature, but no one told Matt Campbell that story. He's gone.
Yeah, he's pulled away. He's nailed. In fact, all of the Porsche drivers, when they've been leading the races on restarts, have absolutely nailed them. I don't think we've seen an overtake down into Hell's Corner, or indeed for the lead, even up into turn 2 at Griffin's Bend. So everybody's been practicing their restarts, and the Campbell is absolutely on a tear at the moment. This could be winning the motor race right here.
Another 2 tenths in the first sector for Matt Campbell. So he continues to build that gap first to second. not going to win it right here now, but you're going to certainly make it easier on yourself. The more gap you have, should you come across lap traffic, the more cautious you can be if you need it. So going fast now buys you luxury later.
At the back of this queue, Cam Waters just tacking on to the back of Chris Haase in that orange Audi. He's still in this. He's really good in the mixed conditions. They have played a blinder today. I think they've probably punched above where the expectation was for Scott Taylor Motorsport. Huge performance, and then Mick Grenier is still in this as well for National Storage, just behind. 7 cars still on the lead lap.
Here's the BMW, looked out for a moment on Jackson Evans. Drops back into line. They're all close on Jules Gounon as they come down to the chase.
The Porsche is so good on the brakes in the chase. We marvelled about that in qualifying yesterday.
Race
and
control,
that was an example from Jackson Evans
teams,
again here in the final corner.
Imposed a pit lane penalty to car 27 for a safety car breach.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah,
that's second
big.
in the Pro-Am category. Ross Gunn. I presume that was speeding in pit lane when they had to come through the pit lane?
No, I think there was a lapped car. Oh, so weaving we're hearing. So the Australian rule that we spend so much time training the international drivers, do not weave when the lights go out on the safety car, has caught Ross Gunn out.
And he's 0.3 of a second away from Jamie Whincup with that ailing aero on the front of the car.
Absolutely. So in through the lane comes the 47, so that is not Ross Gunn. The Kountouris brothers Superbarn AMG Mercedes.
David Russell behind the wheel, third in the silver class, a lap back from Luke Gilden, who's second. The Lambo, a couple of laps clear in that inter-class battle. So over to you, Alessio Picciarello for Manthey EMA. Could they do the double?
He's only 1.5 seconds behind Whincup. And we've said that Whincup has some drama going on with the front splitter. They put more race tape on it, but I don't think that's going to fix it.
No.
So Picciarello has been seriously impressive this weekend. And that 911 car's been fighting back. Talk about snakes and ladders. That car has had snakes and ladders today.
And J-Dub would have wanted that XM BMW safety car to be out for a long time. If he could have stretched that, I'm sure he would have. Probably thought about throwing some debris out the side of the car to do the old NASCAR trick. He's not beyond a bit of cheekiness like that.
The other question I've got, and because I've run out of space on my notepad from the tally, how many drive-through penalties has car 130 had today?
Yeah.
50-12, it's been a lot. They're still
plenty, yes.
They're still on the lead lap. They're 20 seconds behind the lead. They're quite a big chunk behind this leading group of cars, but Maro Engel's there. Now, I'm not expecting miracles, but if they finish there, that'll be 8 cars on the lead lap at the end of the race, which has never happened before. The previous record was 7. So it shows you how competitive this field has been, even though that team has had such a rotten day. And that is a change for position in the Boycell Watchers Pro-Am class. The Porsche gets to the front. So the walking wounded Mercedes AMG slips back to second with Jamie Whincup, and Picciarello gets himself to 10th outright, and what will be the class lead when Ross Gunn has to serve a pit lane penalty.
Gunn still has not come to the lane, so he's stretching out that 3 laps before he must take it.
You get 3 laps of argument time.
Well, you can argue all you want, but once they give you the black flag, I haven't seen them change their mind in the past.
It's not something you can really argue, that there's degrees of certain things you can get called a penalty on, where it's a subjective decision, but you're either waving or you're not waving, you know? But what he's trying to do is give himself the best opportunity and pull away as much as he can whilst he's got a little bit of clear track ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely. So trying to get up the road a little bit, hoping that there might be another safety car to catch the train and get back on it. But this high-speed freight train snakes its way down the mountain to Forest Elbow. Gounon's found a bit of time in the last lap or so as now the tyre sort of normalises for Gounon. So almost the opposite from what we expected, where the Porsche would take a lap or 2 to get up the temperature. It's been Gounon taking a lap or 2. Just on the previous lap, took a little bit of time back out of Matt Campbell.
Let me just remind you that the Repco fastest lap is in the hands of the 13 Porsche, which Jackson Evans is behind, a 2:02.9 in the race. So there is pace in that Porsche in particular. Is that the only car in the twos today? Yes, it is.
Yeah. Lap 58. That cool, crisp morning air when it was properly flat out. 4.9 for the leader, 5.2 Gunon, 5.3 Evans, 5.4. Nice bit of numerology there for Martin. So much of a much the second, third and fourth. That Porsche again, Garth, in the final sector was 4/10 quicker than Jules Gunon. So braking for the chase, braking for Murray's corner.
He can't use that performance though whilst Gunon's ahead of him. So he's not been able to chase down Matt Campbell.
I think there was a bit of traffic pollution on that last lap in the last sector for second, third, fourth and fifth. So we'll keep an eye on that one.
The teams, the stewards have imposed a PLP to car 10 for crossing the pit entry blend line.
It's the invitational class car, the Hollinger car. And I've just seen the GT4 leader in the pit lane, Adam Christodoulou. Late stop there.
We are all the way to the checkered flag at Mount Panorama. The margin 2.5 seconds. Porsche to Mercedes AMG. The two drivers that have dominated this race since 2019, that duked it out for the win last year, are going at it again. And they're already back into the 2-minute and 4-second lap times as we fight towards the end. And 4 manufacturers represented in the top 5. And Bathurst remains one of the most open races from a balance of performance between all the different GT3 brands. If that's not exciting for the brands that aren't here this year and the ones that are coming, like Ford and Chevrolet and hopefully McLaren and all the others, well, this is the place where you can come and know that you're going to have a shot. Campbell negotiating some traffic.
There's a bit of a story in the invitational class as well, which has been really tough today, because at the moment, just going out of the pit lane on an outlap to the checkered flag, Adam Hargraves is leading the class in the number 20 T2 Racing local search car. That was the car that was backed into the wall early in the weekend and had to borrow some panels from a car from another category that was racing here, and the rear clip as well. So that's a bit of a rags to riches story. We always get them here at the Repco Bathurst 12 Hours. There'll be plenty of column inches written about this one.
Previous lap, Jules Gunon took 0.8 of a second out of Matt Campbell. Campbell came across a bit of lap traffic in an awkward spot in the final sector, and Gunon got the rub of the green this time around with a much cleaner run through the lap traffic. So come to the end of the first sector on this next lap. What's the difference between the two? It's Matt Campbell 50.8 versus Gunon's 51.0. So Campbell has the speed in the car. That's the luxury of a gap. When you come to the lap traffic, you can be a little bit more cautious if you need to. Take a bit of the intensity out of the situation.
Spare a thought for Laurens Vanthoor as well, the Belgian driver. This is his 7th attempt at winning this race. He was runner-up here in 2015 with Audi, doing all kinds of insane things at the end of that race, trying to grab a car that really didn't want to be there and wrangle it towards the podium, including a rather large send around the outside of the final corner on the final lap of the race to get himself onto the podium. He's been trying to win this race for a long time. He's got former pole position winner as well.
Jules Gunon is bringing that AMG to life here, and he's just trimming again last time around that lead. It's down to just on 2 seconds. Took a 0.8 of a second last time around with just under 18 minutes to go. Mind, he's got to keep his foot in because he's got a pack of hungry hounds behind him. Jackson Evans, Max Martin, Chris Haase are all there, and that's 4 very, very accomplished and talented drivers for 2 final spots on the box.
The one thing we've been talking about all weekend is the near complete inflappability of Gunon. He just doesn't make a mistake. So he's so good under pressure. He will weather whatever storm Jackson Evans can throw at him in that battle for second place. But he's got to be eyes forward and find a way to pick that 2.5 second margin back to the race leader.
Time to remind everybody, Rich, when this race ends.
But the countdown is the end. So 16 minutes plus 1 lap. So we're counting down to the final lap of the race. So 17:43 local time, 5:43 p.m. local time, plus 1 lap is the finish. Lap is 2 minutes, and that gets us to the full 12 hours.
Lap traffic. Oh, Jackson Evans up the inside of McPhillamy, as is Maxime Martin. So now Gounon has to follow the GT4 McLaren down the hill. It's single lane through here. So this is killing Gounon. And Jackson Evans has got right to the rear bumper. And now Gounon, does he get around? No, he doesn't. So he continues, and he can't go too wide. Remember, it's a single lane because it's wet down there. So Gounon cautious, smart. But now that's closed him right up. Look at Cam Waters. He's in the game right behind Christopher Haase. So second through sixth, nose to tail, and seventh from Mikael Grenier as well. So now Gounon's trying to shake the draft of Jackson Evans. We know the Porsches are super late on the brakes here at the chase. What about Maxime Martin? We know that thing's straight and fast in a straight line. Do they get it all through there? Yes, they do.
So now it's 6 top quality drivers and GT3 cars for 2 spots on the box.
But that's 6 seconds to the race lead. That one moment.
4 seconds difference.
One moment
in the middle sector.
Has cost Jules Gounon a huge chunk of time. Mick Grenier was attacking Cameron Waters down at Murray's Corner, and Chris Haase looking at Maxime Martin now in the battle for 4th and 5th position. This is still very much all up for grabs.
But if that can happen in the favour of the leader, that could just as easily happen to bring this all back together. The advantage that Matt Campbell has is he hasn't got somebody breathing down his neck, and therefore he can probably take different lines. It's a really difficult compromise to have when you're Jules Gounon trying to attack and lap a car, but also trying to make sure that Jackson Evans, sitting in behind him, doesn't see a crack opening in his front door that he can stick his foot through.
Jules Gounon effectively needs to be cross-eyed. One eye out the windscreen and one eye on the rear vision mirror. And deal with the lap traffic at the same time. So you're right, and we spoke about the gap that Matt Campbell opened early in that safety car restart, and that's what that does. It gives you that luxury of not having to race the other cars. You just deal with the lap traffic. So now Campbell coming up on David Russell in the number 47 AMG Mercedes. It's just full focus, is just get past this car, not have to worry about getting attacked from behind, because that gap that he has now, 6.6 seconds over Gounon, and Gounon, his full attention now is in the rear vision mirror. That's Russell's mate, the Russ.
Well done.
Thanks, brother.
Very generous.
And that's good sportsmanship. I know they're playing for different manufacturers, if you will. I should know the answer to this question, gentlemen. Gounon ever been a co-driver in the Great Race?
No,
not yet.
Frankly, madness that he has not yet had that opportunity.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself, and when I was talking to him last week at the Alpine 424 launch, where he's the reserve driver this year, thinking to myself, no, I can't think of him being there. He's rather good round here.
Rather
young guy that will go places. Again, that previous lap at the chase, Jackson Evans was so strong on the brakes. If Gounon gets held up out of Forest Elbow, he needs to defend for his life when they get through the kink down into the chase, because Jackson Evans will be down the inside in a heartbeat.
Under 13 minutes to go, and the good news for our leader is the next bit of traffic that he's got to get by is quite a long way ahead. He's going to have at least to the end of this lap, and probably a little longer, before he catches the back of the... And it's not a whole clump of cars, just a single car, and then a gap, then another single car. What you don't want to come on is a battle for position, where guys are fighting for a lead of a class, and not necessarily looking in their mirrors.
I'll have to get a stress test as well on Yasser Shahin, who'll be watching on from the Manthey EMA garage, because he's done a really big job today in car 911, and they're leading the Pro-Am class. They're 9th outright, and they've got Jamie Whincup 13 seconds behind them, so a slightly more comfortable margin for the second of the Manthey cars. But they are on potentially to claim both of the main classes in this race.
Jamie Whincup driving manfully in an injured Mercedes 88, but Ross Gunn taking 3 seconds a lap out of him, and the gap's down to 10 seconds now. I don't think Ross Gunn can get back to Alessio Picariello, but there's a second place on here for Heart of Racing, and they'll be cursing that final penalty that they had for waving coming back to the green on the last safety car restart.
Visual how much ground that Porsche takes out of the Mercedes under brakes for the chase, but the BMW noticeably closer this time by. Valentino Rossi was watching on nervously with his teammate Raffaele Marciello, who switched brands. It's normally Lello we're talking about in these circumstances. He's been in this fight before. Now he has to watch from the BMW bunker. They salvage a podium out of what's been a day of enormous promise for WRT.
There's such commitment out there at the moment. Riding the curbs, and the curbs hold the dampness, Garth, as well, so they're really now, they're leaving nothing on the table.
No, it's max attack, full send. We hear from pit lane quite a bit these days, where certainly the front bunch are leaving no stone unturned. Previous lap round, Matt Campbell was a 5-1, Jules Gounon a 4-1, so the traffic continuing to influence the lap time of our lead cars, but Campbell enjoys a 5.5 second gap over Gounon in second. And that was, we're on board with Michael Grenier, who was chasing down Cam Waters. That was the battle for 6th and 7th.
Cam's just dropped off the back of Chris Haase in the Audi. That's another incredible story of the day. Remember, they went the same route that Sun Energy 1 have gone, with putting a bronze driver in that car. And so 2 of those combinations are going to be in the top 5 at this point anyway, with Chris Haase having done a huge job, and Kelvin van der Linde, who's longed to get a big result at Mount Panorama in all of his visits to this place. The Audi still grimly hanging on. It's one of the older cars now relative to some of the new machinery around it, but with people like that behind the wheel, it's still very, very effective, and Liam Talbot did do an outstanding job in his stint earlier on today.
Serviceable, I would say. More than serviceable.
Right.
Yeah, Audi Sport Customer Racing boss Chris Franke at the mountain this weekend.
Flew in today. One day only.
Finally, yeah. I think there was some travel issues there, to be honest. But Chris likes to be where the customers are, and there's plenty of customers down here in Australia.
204.5, Matt Campbell. 204.4, Jules Gounon.
204.0, Jackson Evans.
Hello.
204.1, Maxime Martin. 204.0, Christopher Haas. So lap time starting to get a little spicy.
So that's the hardest Porsche has had to get its tyres switched on in the whole race so far. So Matt went really hard, really early. And the Porsche's been a skill of it today, an attribute of it today has been bringing them in gently. Will that hurt them late in this race? Will that offer any pain for Matt as he gets towards the end of the race?
And I'm still keeping an eye on what's going on in the Pro-Am category. Alessio Picariello now 20 seconds to the good on Jamie Whincup. The 911, the Shell Helix coloured Porsche, well up the road, but Jamie Whincup is going to see the headlight shortly of the Mercedes AMG, the number 27, Ross Gunn, now under, well, I was going to say under 6 seconds. I might as well say 5 now, 5.2 seconds. He's taking great lumps of time out of that wounded AMG. 7.5 to go, gentlemen. Tense. Tense. As a racing driver, this is as tense I've seen Garth all day, because if you're in the lead car now, all you want to do is for that to know there's one lap to go. You're hearing all sorts of nonsense. You've got to just concentrate and keep it going, haven't you?
Oh, this is what you spend all day playing chess for. to go checkmate at the end of the day. So this is what it's all about. Jackson Evans, have a go at that move. There was not a door to walk through, but Jackson Evans pried it open.
Here comes the BMW, Maxime Martin on the outside. And what can Chris Haase do? This is for
Martin, look how deep he went.
It won't work, it won't pay off, but it might open the door for the Audi. He's got a wheel up the inside of Jackson Evans. They're going to war down towards turn 1. Gounon safe for a moment, and Chris Haase gets himself up, potentially to the podium.
I did think that 22 Audi was still in with a shot. I think Gounon helped him out there, actually, because he slightly blocked Jackson Evans as he was coming into Murray's for the final time. The Porsche is running skinny. We know it's quicker in a straight line, but the Audi's got the preferred line into Visit New South Wales, Griffin Bend. And Chris Haase on the third step of the podium for the number 22 Audi.
All right, I am locked on the timing screen for Chris Haase's sector time across the top of the mountain this lap.
It'll be epic.
Because he is going to run and run hard.
This is his eighth visit to Mount Panorama, Chris Haase. He's been desperately unlucky. A little bit of contact, Jackson Evans to the rear of Jules Gounon, but it fired the Sun Energy 1 car out well. Maxime Martin just went, well, I got to commit to this somehow and go around the outside.
They were on the podium for a second. His teammate was on the podium for a second, didn't quite pay off. I think Jules Gounon locked up there, Garth, as he was coming into the chase.
I'm not sure, but we've been saying all weekend there. Martin just absolutely centred around the outside, hope for the best. Jackson Evans centred down the inside, hope for the best, and Christopher Haase picked both their pockets. So it was ecstatic in the garage at BMW for a second or so, then disbelief afterwards as Martin drops back to 5th.
How's the situational awareness from Chris Haase, though? Yeah. Put his car in exactly the right position, elbows out, made sure he stuck, and then again, the positioning on the run up the hill into Griffin's Bend was perfect and got that car into 3rd place. Could they be on the podium in an Audi R8? That would be an enormous result for this team.
Balance of performance sees Porsche from Mercedes, from Audi, from Porsche from BMW in the top 5 places. Good spread of the manufacturers here. Gounon with a little bit of breathing space this time around, under 5 minutes to go.
Every year. Every year. This place does something utterly ridiculous to us. What a show.
There's a new second place now in the Pro-Am. Ross Gunn has dispatched Jamie Whincup with that wounded aero on the front of his AMG. 27.5 seconds behind Alessio Picariello. He's taken time out of Alessio, but there's not enough time left for him to get back. That was a very, very costly mistake, weaving behind the safety car with the lights out. The daft thing about that was he had to come down the pit lane anyway, so there was really no need to be doing that.
It's one you file in the memory bank for 12 months when you come back and try and go 1 or 2 spots better.
Heart of racing have put up a good fight. 3 rookie drivers here, and with SPS a really well-drilled team. I think if I'd offered them second place at the start of the week, they might have said yes in their class.
We'll bank that, thank you very much.
Yeah, but they'll have wanted a little bit more to get greedy into the race.
There they are. And there is the battered and bruised.
It's gone now.
It's gone now. It's broken off, yeah.
It's worn through. So Jamie Whincup's AMG Mercedes sounding more like a Massey Ferguson tractor. 11 front splitter flaps away.
11-1 last time round. The worst thing is he's the team principal now. He pays the bill to fix it for the next round.
I don't think it happened when he was driving the car, though. He's inherited that one.
That matters. So second, Gounon. Third, Haase, who was 3/10 quicker across the top of the hill than the Mercedes AMG, playing to the Audi strength, less than a second between them. Jackson Evans not out of this yet either. And Maxime Martin will do anything he can to try and wrestle the BMW further forward. Well, WRT last year finished within 60 seconds of the winner. This year, right now, they're within 8 seconds of the lead at the end of the race. So, man, I hope they come back for a 3rd straight year with those BMWs, because they have been a force to be reckoned with today.
And someone's lit a fire under the Grenier 888 car. Check that out, 2:03.9 on that last lap, 1.5 seconds quicker than the leader. And that already exciting fight for second and third could have another car with 2 minutes to go.
It's a really good point, Chad. I saw that one too, Grenier, 2:03.9. He's come alive whilst Jackson Evans and Maxime Martin are fighting over 4th and 5th. This car on screen right now, fastest car on track last time by a margin. So Grenier doing everything he can to get himself in the game.
Under 2 minutes now, gentlemen. Under 2 minutes, and the gap is 5 seconds at the head of the field. Jules Gunon within touching distance. This is tantalising. He's not, I don't think he's going to get back to it unless it was 4.5 now. Bit of traffic to go the wrong way. Traffic has played such a part here today. We saw it exceptionally clean running in the early part of the week down at Manthey EMA. And it's, of course, it's Grello. It has to be Grello.
There is some lap traffic up the road, but only 2 cars that are separated, so they're not line astern. So that's good news if your name's Matt Campbell. You can deal them one by one.
He's going to get to them at the right part of the track for lap traffic anyway, between here and turn 2. 4.2 seconds. Jules Gunon, you know he will drive car 75 within an inch of its life if there is even a sniff at the end of this one.
5.3 for Matt Campbell, 3.7 for Jules Gunon, 3.8 for Christopher Haase, who's just done the personal best for that car in the last sector.
Wow.
So Matt Campbell's enjoying a handy buffer. He's lucky he's got it. I mean, I think he is making sure he's massaging the car to the end. He's making sure that there are no mistakes to be had.
You said it, Garth. Take the advantage when you've got it. You never know when you might need a second here or 3/4 of a second down. We've seen this race come down to meters in the past.
Look at the clock. Tick, tick, tick. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and 1. So it rolls down to 0, which means it should be this lap and 1 more.
Oh, traffic at the worst traffic at Reed Park.
Wow, that could have been big if he'd not gone through there. It's cost him some time, but not a whole heap of time.
Gunon, there's potential that Gunon will get it in this part of the track. The S is coming down the hill, which is much more a one-lane raceway than it is at Reed and McPhillamy Parks. So
2.6 seconds. Jules Gunon. He's got 9 kilometres. 9 kilometres to try and give Kenny 3 in a row. To try and give Luca 3 in a row and go 4 up and create Bathurst history. But this young man out in front, he celebrated his 29th birthday yesterday. He won the Daytona 24 Hour just a couple of weeks ago. He's one of the great success stories of the Australian motorsport and the Porsche pyramid here to go overseas and become a factory driver at the very highest level of sports car racing around the world. And Manthey EMA Racing, what about that story? They're 6 Ks away from a Bathurst win. 1 lap remaining in the Repco Bathurst 12 Hour.
Attention all teams, the lead car has commenced the last lap.
Well, well, well. What an up and down day it has been for a number of the class leaders. An up and down week. It's not been by any stretch of the imagination, gentlemen, a pristine Manthey performance. There's been mistakes made, but they have reacted and they have had the key element to any motor race, be it a sprint or endurance. They've had speed, they've had the pace, and all 3 drivers, Lawrence Vantoor, Aichan Guven, who has done the yeoman's part of the work, by far the most laps, and Matt Campbell brought in as the closer.
You are going to have dramas in a 12-hour race. Doesn't matter where it is, doesn't matter what sort of driving lineup you have. It's how you recover from those dramas. And the 912 car that leads outright and the 911 car that leads the Pro-Am race have had their fair share of dramas. And Mante EMA have recovered beautifully. They've had fast race cars, but they've got themselves in a position to use those fast race cars. And no one can deny that this is a very, very special result for Porsche.
Yeah, today the fastest car will win the race if he can negotiate the final sector. This story incredible. Lawrence Vanthoor has tried his heart out for years in cars that weren't quite possibly there to win. And the Belgian driver, who's been a superstar at this place, one of our favourite internationals, has done the job. And Ian Guven has been remarkable. But the story is around Matt Campbell, who's going to win this one again.
He's just got the run down to Murray's for the final time. Jules Gounon is within sight of history, but he won't make it. It's Porsche and Manthey EMA who win the Repco Bathurst 12 Hours in 2024, and Matt Campbell does it again. He did it before the big run of Sun Energy 1, and he breaks the streak and breaks their hearts. What a run. And Bathurst has delivered again.
What a defence for Sun Energy 1. What a defence. If you can't win it, finish second.
No, they went within 2.6 seconds of doing it again.
And Manthey EMA will do the double pro and outright win, and the Boycell Pro-Am class. This is a huge result for this team. Yasser Shahin is going to win at Mount Panorama.
And they were a lap down in the kitty litter at the top of the mountain, so they didn't have a perfect day. That wasn't their fault, in all honesty. So that's a great comeback drive as well. Remarkable stuff.
Lawrence Vanthoor, finally, how does it feel to be a winner at Bathurst?
It always needs a bit of time to sink in, but yeah, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing group of people. I've been waiting for this and dreaming of this one for a while, and it's there, so I'm happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Silver class coming through to a quite brilliant finish. They've just gone round like clockwork. The Invitational class with bits falling off the car in front of it as they come down. It's the IRC car that was hard into the wall with the driver who was in the car who was hard into the wall earlier in the week. This is another great comeback story, Krillsy.
Incredible. One of the overnight Bathurst repair jobs to victory. the Bathurst history book's full of that story. That's incredible. And Mark Griffith's little team that could, in the Mercedes AMG, win in GT4. But Matt Campbell, he was the hero for Porsche in 2019. He's the hero for Porsche again in 2024. And he wins by 2.6 seconds. With Jules Gounon, whose streak finishes at a mere 3 in a row. There's only 6 drivers in the history of this place that have done it. Shay?
Again, Matt Campbell, winner at Bathurst. How special is this place?
Yeah, I mean, that feels awesome. Obviously, second win. Tough day, the weather, everything like that. And hats off to everyone at EMA Manthey Racing. I mean, we're always running at the front. And it wasn't easy with the mixed conditions, but, to Larry and Ianchen, they did a fantastic job. We kept it off the walls, and, phenomenal. The second win, and, it's unreal.
Nothing but qualifying laps for that last stint?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a little bit of risk management as well. Obviously, there was quite a lot of water still offline in places, so just making sure I don't do any mistakes and really trying to manage the gap a little bit as well. So team was sort of keeping me up to date, and we got there in the end.
2 big races this year, 2 big wins. Congrats, keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Great start to the year.
I think it was Shea who first spoke to Matt as well after winning the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
That's his mum, Ange, TC, his aunt. They have been along every step of this journey. It's his girlfriend as well. What a really cool moment this is, waiting for his teammates to come and join the celebration. And Grello, one of the most famous brands in global GT racing, finally gets a Bathurst victory.
The 1,000-watt smile of Matt Campbell. What a couple of weeks. First time overall winner and another Rolex watch a couple of weeks ago, and now second time here on the mountain in a real dogfight, let's be honest. Yes, they've had a good car, but as we've mentioned, it was by no means a perfect run. And they had to outfox and outsmart some strategy from the 75 Synergy 1 team. Teammates are all together down there. And that's the start of a big party right there this evening.
Well, you ride the roller coaster with these guys, and for Laurens Vanthoor, who's tried his heart out so many times to be delivered a victory, is an incredible result. How about third place? Christopher Haase.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for the drives of the two cars in front, that's drive of the day for mine at the end, who gets a podium with Kelvin van der Linde and Liam Talbot. Enormous result for Audi. Jackson Evans and Phantom Global 4th.
That's a good result
really.
as well.
Maxime Martin 5th in the end in 46 with Valentino Rossi and Rafa Marciello. Yeah, I heard you call the Wall Racing Lambo across the line silver class winners. That's going to be a big party tonight.
Massive.
Oh, that'll be at Grant Denya's house, I think, just around the corner. One of Bathurst's finest is going to win a Bathurst class, and he will be over the moon with that. And these are the class winners. Adam Christodoulou. So Prestige Iveco, Mark Griffo's team got home in the end in GT4, and the class that no one wanted to win today, in the end, T2 Racing and Local Search got there. And Grello on top at Mount Panorama. This will be a famous photo in the Porsche archives for years and years to come. That first win was special, backing it up with the Manthey brand attached, with all the cachet in endurance racing that it has.
Thomas Lautenbach, head of Porsche Motorsport here, and in their garage, in their corner as well, was arguing the toss with the officials over the blown drive-through, and they've managed. Gartander said it, it's about how you react. It's not about making the mistakes, it's how you react, how you reset, how you throw away the plan that you were working on, open another spreadsheet and just go for it. Some great photographs going to be going around the world.
As always, there are so many stories to pull out of this. 275 laps, so well short of the distance record. In fact, it'll be one of the shorter GT3 races held here. A smidge over 1,700 kilometres of racing in, at times, what were really challenging weather conditions throughout the middle stanza of the race. It's hard to believe they got to threes at the end of that, in that shootout towards the flag.
Record crowd has been in attendance. It's been an absolute cracker. And once again, the run to the checkered flag here has given us all of the excitement we could have. Even Mother Nature couldn't dampen the spirits here at the Repco Bathurst 12 Hours for 2024.
Last three races here, winning margins, 8.7 seconds, 0.9 and 2.6. So the last three races decided by a combined margin of about 11 seconds, which is just remarkable when you think about everything that you have to go through to finish this race. 8 cars finished on the lead lap. That's a record for this race. Shows you the depth of competition in that field, and the car that finished in 8th position was, in the end, Maro Engel. 222, Cam Waters, Tom Randall, Craig Lowndes. A really strong finish in the top 8 in this race. That's huge. And then 888, Mick Grenier with huge pace at the end of the race there. Ends up in 6th position for the National Storage team. BMW just in front. And the Pro-Am winners, just as a reminder, Manthey EMA get both the outright and the Pro-Am class wins, with Picarello, King, who won here in Carrera Cup in October last year, and Yasser Shahin, who's a double GT World Challenge champion. I'd love to see where this fits in his CV from a racing driver point of view, because it will be right up there for Yass.
How about Matt Campbell then? His GT duties aren't finished this year. I'll have to check to see and speak to him to see if Nürburgring 24 is on his list. Overall win at Daytona, overall win at Bathurst 12. Well, what a trifecta that would be. I'm not sure that double that I've just mentioned has been done before. I'll have to look back.
Let's go and celebrate this one. Chad Nailon has the Repco Bathurst 12-hour podium.
Yeah, it's time to celebrate here at Mount Panorama, the 2024 Repco Bathurst 12-hour outright podium. We'll start with our third place team, the Washit team, MPC, And our drivers, Liam Talbot, Christopher Haase, and Kelvin van der Linde. With our third place trophies, here comes Shane Rhodes from the Repco Bathurst 12-hour. And here comes Abby Hay, Series Manager, with our Intercontinental GT Challenge medals. Let's go with our second place team here today, which is Sun Energy One Racing. Kenny Habul, Jules Gunon, and Lucas Stoles. Here comes Series Manager Abby Hay with our Intercontinental GT Challenge medals. And with the trophies for second place, Bathurst Mayor Jess Jennings. And now, Bathurst, it's time to make plenty of noise for your winning team, Mante, EMA, and your drivers, Ayhankan Guven, Lauren Vantor, and Matt Campbell. Radu Razima from Repco with the trophies, and Christoph Hopp from Bozell with the watches. There are your 9 drivers from the Repco Bathurst 12-hour, and here come the Bozell watches. Thanks to our terrific partners, it is now time to celebrate here at Mount Panorama. Well, Garth Tander, let's get out here and celebrate with the drivers as we say farewell to everybody on what's been an amazing 2024 Repco Bathurst 12-hour. It's been a while since you stood out here, mate.
Oh, it's a fantastic result. What a result for Porsche. Matt Campbell delivered in that last stint. And for them to win the Pro-Am class as well is a big result for Porsche. Kenny Habul, he's the mayor of Bathurst. He's doing a shoey over there. Great atmosphere out here.
Incredible. We're going to have to get off this podium before we accidentally find ourselves drinking out of Kenny Habul's shoe. And we're going to continue the fun next week with the Thrifty Bathurst 500, all part of Superfest. Go and sign up to Superview for our international viewers if you need another Bathurst fix next week. This has been an incredible race once again. Farewell, Bathurst. It's been great fun.
There's a personality and an atmosphere to this race that is unrivaled anywhere in the world.
Oh, big one with the BMW across the cutting.
Oh, have a go at this.
Oh, BMW! Huge, it's going to Bathurst. To keep it off the track.
Oh, yeah, it's gone.
Oh, Martin, look how deep he went.
It's Porsche and Manti EMA who win the Repco Bathurst 12 hours in 2024.
Let's move forward now with our 2024 Repco Bathurst 12-hour Bozell Watches Pro-Am podium. And third place today, 888 JMR, Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, Jamie Wincup and Jordan Love. Shane Rogers has our third place trophies. And presenting the Intercontinental GT Challenge Independent Cup winners, here comes Series Manager Abby Hay. It was a spirited drive from our second place.